You're right.
In the heart of the city, ain't no love in the heart of town.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
UConn beats Purdue to win the national championship. Many WNBA stars take shots at Caitlin Clark after the Iowa loss. John Calipari leaves Kentucky to be the next Arkansas head coach, and the Texans restructure Stefon Diggs' contract, making him a free agent after this year, and much, much more on a new Sports Loudmouth. Doc Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the player $300 million. You better be sure that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Jackson tried to the referee. No, he didn't. We are back for a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, and ex-NFL player, Sean Smith. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and ex-NFL player Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out your local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And by the way, guys, I've put up some new stuff on our website. It is fantastic. New and improved. And by the way, you can call our show, as always, by calling us at 631-672-3108. Speedy, what's up, man?
Enjoyed a lot of basketball this weekend. Unfortunately, Purdue falling apart in the second half, unfortunately for you. But,
thank you.
Yeah, but had a very good season. But congratulations to UConn. Congratulations to all my UConn alum friends that are possibly listening to the show. And Sean, congratulations to your Gamecocks on the women's end. An undefeated season.
Yes, Sean, what's up, buddy?
Of course. There you go. Of course. You know.
Is that your favorite word tonight? Of course. Can we use that on our board? Of course. You know.
Of course, because I told you guys that they was gonna win it. You know what I mean? Hey,
well, at least somebody wins. It's not the guys that are going to win it. So it had to be the women.
I guys made it to the
Well, Sean, you have a bad audio side over there. I don't know what's going on over there, but I hope you have the mic in. That would definitely help.
The mic is here, buddy. Sorry.
All right, now it sounds better. Now it sounds better.
Maybe I think it probably sounded like I was far away. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, the Gamecocks is going to win. Basketball wins. Basketball has to get over that.
All right.
You're gonna have to go out.
Sean, you're gonna have to go back in. You're gonna have to go back and go out and come back in because there's something going on with your mic. So we will get back to Sean, but we have a great show lined up for you guys. A little bit later in the show, we will be talking to Spotify and the Ringer audience engagement manager, Austin Gayle. He is fantastic, and I'm telling you guys, must listen to. Two football guys on tonight. It's going to be fantastic. At 8:30, we'll be talking to Draft Countdown managing partner Shane Hallam. He is as good as anybody in the business. If you know anything about Shane, he's very hard to get on. That's for damn sure. And he predicts the future when it comes to draft and draft picks. So very excited to get him on. He hasn't been on the show for a very long time. And Shane, obviously, before the draft, gives us a chance to go through the draft and his thoughts, where the Jets go, where the Giants go, where some of these teams, even New England, do they trade out at number 3? Does Washington trade out? So very interesting, and we will get into it a little bit later in the show with him. And obviously, Austin Gayle. UConn beat Purdue to win the national championship. It was a fantastic tournament. It went back and forth, but the championship game, it was the battle of two halves. Purdue stayed in the game in the first half, and then all of a sudden in the second half, everything started to fall awkwardly down. So I don't know what happened to Purdue in the second half, but they were outcoached, outplayed, out-rebounded, outshot in the second half of that game. So we will get into it. Many WNBA stars took shots at Caitlin Clark after the Iowa loss. I feel bad for Caitlin Clark because you can't blame Caitlin. All right. I will say this again. It was not Caitlin's fault that the team didn't show up. She showed up to the game. She scored 30 points. It was just unfortunate that they couldn't buy points in the fourth quarter. And that's basketball. You can't expect that to happen and her to take over every single game and score 40, 50 points. It doesn't happen that way, but unfortunately it didn't work out in that specific game. And obviously the Gamecocks win the national championship. So congratulations to the Gamecocks. It was a fantastic win by them. So we will get into that a little bit later in the show. And the Texans restructured Stefon Diggs' contract, making him a free agent after this year. Interesting story. We expected this to happen, by the way. I'm not surprised that they restructured his contract. So very interesting. So we will get into that. And I'm sure Sean has his own thoughts to that as well. So we will get into it. The Colts, ladies and gentlemen, are reportedly interested in trading up to draft Brock Bowers. The Colts are interested in doing that. Very interesting. I didn't expect that, but hey, anything's possible. Maybe they could move up. They would have to get into the top 10, maybe the Jets. So the Jets have reportedly come out and said that they're willing to trade down. Maybe it's for Brock Bowers because that spot, the Jets could still get the offensive lineman they want and still get a significant amount back for somebody like the Indianapolis Colts. Where are they drafting right now? 16. So jumping 16 to 10, I wouldn't say they'll get a first-round draft pick for that, but they'll get a second for it. Maybe a fourth, too, for that, to jump 6 spots to get the pick from the Jets. So we will get into that. The Texas defensive tackle, Tavondre Sweet, arrested for DWI. And LeBron James very likely to opt out of his contract. Obviously, we all know why he's opting out of his contract. He wants more money. So we will get into that a little bit later in the show. So I want to get into the John Calipari thing because that was the shocker. Yeah. Really, even before the Purdue UConn game, everybody was shocked that John Calipari was going to opt out of his contract and head over there to Arkansas, which was shocking. And a lot of the fans really threw him to the wolves after they got eliminated early in the tournament. It's been back-to-back years where they've been eliminated pretty quickly. A team that was one of the favorites, one of the surprises to get eliminated as quick as they did. ESPN reports that John Calipari accepted a new deal to become the next Arkansas head coach. Arkansas job became available after their coach, Eric Musselman, took the USC job. Calipari signed a new 5-year, $35 million contract, making less money than he would have in Kentucky. Calipari said that Kentucky was his dream job, but also Kentucky probably needs to hear a new voice. Because Calipari made the decision himself and wasn't fired, Kentucky doesn't need to pay him the $35 million in buyout money. Baylor head coach Scott Drew is the favorite to be the new and next Kentucky head coach, with Nate Oates saying he is staying with Alabama and Dan Hurley saying he is committed to the UConn Huskies. So a lot of people thought that they were going to make a huge run for Danny Hurley. After winning back-to-back national championships, it's Kentucky. It's one of the biggest basketball schools in the country. And Danny Hurley is the hottest coach. He is if Wright was still there, which he's retired, he would be a guy that would definitely be interviewed for the job if he would have left Villanova. He retired a year ago, so it's not going to be him. But you look at the John Calipari thing, and I think John Calipari decided to part ways with Kentucky because of what happened after the season. I don't think it had anything to do with a new voice. I think it was a lot with the press. The press attacked him. They threw him to the wolves. They don't understand that recruiting took a lot out of him. It takes a lot out of him every single year. Going out there, sitting down with the parents, sitting down in the living rooms, trying to pitch Kentucky to all these top recruits. And it takes a lot. And to go out there and coach and make these players there, practically his sons. I mean, he doesn't get enough time with his family. He makes these kids his family. And his wife came out many, many times. And if you know anything about DeMarcus Cousins was one of the biggest recruits in basketball, in college basketball, when he decided to go to Kentucky. And one of the main reasons why he decided to go to Kentucky was John Calipari, his fatherly, personality, his wife being a mother to DeMarcus Cousins. As a matter of fact, DeMarcus speaks very highly of the Calipari family and what they did for him before he became an NBA superstar. Now, you look at the position that Kentucky has been in the last couple of years, and this is an organization, this is a school that demands championships, demands Final Four runs, and they just have not been there. Now, am I going to blame it on John Calipari? No, it's not all of John Calipari. It's the recruits. It's these kids showing up to games and playing hard for John. John is not going to be on the court shooting threes or getting to the hole, getting to the free throw line, hitting free throw shots. He is not that type of coach. He is going to go out there. He's going to coach you. He's going to make sure that you understand what he wants you to do in games, defensively and offensively. He's not going to be on the court, potty training you. Okay, that doesn't work. But he hasn't gotten it done. And John, if you're making all that money, what is the press going to do to you after you lose in obviously in a spotlighted game, in a March Madness game, when you should have been, I would say, an elite 8 team. That's where I think Kentucky was this year, the way they played, especially in the second half of the season. I think what were they, a 4th seed, right?
They were a 3 seed and they lost to a 14. They
Right.
were the only one.
So they were a 3 seed that fell very early to a 15 seed. And a team that a lot of people thought was going to make a big run this year. They had a lot of size. They can get inside. They could shoot threes. They had very good guard play. I mean, they could do everything. And you could say whatever you want about John Calipari and his coaching. The guy knows how to win. He has won in college multiple times. He understands, and he's coached multiple college teams. It's not like he hasn't been there. He hasn't been to a national championship. He's been to multiple ones.
He took a UMass to a Final Four.
So, I mean, the guy is a great coach, and he's probably one of the best recruiters in the country, if not the best recruiter in the country. So him and Coach K, you can argue those two were the best for many, many years. So you sit here and you wonder, where does Kentucky go? I think it was great for Calipari to go to Arkansas. Don't be surprised if some of these Kentucky recruits head over there to Arkansas. Arkansas has been demanding a winner. They want a winner. Mm-hmm. This is a school that, at one point was a pretty good basketball team.
Yeah, back-to-back Elite Eights.
Yeah, so, and they just couldn't get it done. And they haven't won a national championship. I don't even remember the last time they won a national championship. So, Arkansas.
They haven't won since Nolan Richardson been there, huh?
When was that?
Nolan Richardson was the head coach. That's the last time they won, right?
Yeah. So I don't even know when the last time they won. Speedy would probably know more than I would. So it's been a long time. Arkansas has not won in a very, very long time. But you look at Calipari now, he is going to be able to bring in the recruits that he is going to need to win. And maybe Kentucky needed a new voice. I don't know. I know a lot of people in regular basketball, and I'll say this, every single year with college basketball, you're a one and done. You can leave college in 1 year. So for them to say they need a new voice, every year there's a new player. I mean, if you're an NBA talented player, which usually 5 to 6 players that are brought in as a recruit from Kentucky, they're one and done players. That's what they usually are. So it's not. I know John Calipari came out and said they might need a new voice. What for? I mean, you have a new recruit every single year. It doesn't really matter. It really was Calipari not comfortable being in Kentucky anymore. He was not happy there.
And you have to think like Kentucky's still going to have that kind of philosophy. And John Calipari still did it a lot the way he did it but probably besides Duke, like probably the best among recruiting freshmen we've seen in a very long time and making it work. So like that kind of thing is still going to happen with Kentucky having a reputation. We talk about it with Duke all the time. Like Duke is still getting recruits even with Coach K retired because there's still going to be some influence there. Now, Kentucky might have to change it a little bit because I think nowadays you see more experienced teams winning the tournament. There's not as much freshman one and done type teams winning the tournament anymore, but you wonder how both Kentucky and Calipari will be able to adjust to that too. And like you said with Arkansas, they've been a rising program recently. Eric Musselman, who's now at USC, did a good job rising it. They had 2 Elite Eight appearances. They lost against UConn. They lost against Baylor, who are both eventual national champions. But they're looking for that big swing in the SEC. Like the SEC's gotten really, really good now. Alabama, Tennessee, and now they get a big one with Arkansas, which not a lot of kids are want to go to anyway because it's in Arkansas. That's a recruiting advantage for Arkansas in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sean, you know a little bit about recruiting and being recruited. What are your thoughts to Calipari moving his ideas to Arkansas?
I think it's another place he's just trying to put a stamp on. You know how you can only do so much at a program, and then it's time for change. You know, I look at it like Lou Holtz. He did so much at Notre Dame, right? William Mary, Notre Dame, South Carolina. It's like you do so much and then you hit that wall. I feel like Calipari hit that wall, so that's why he's saying it needs a new voice. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you win, it's expected. Calipari is also known for, like you say, getting one of the best recruiters. He's known for putting guys in the league and, like you said, being a father figure that he is and with his wife. I think that's a plus. And I think with him taking that to Arkansas, he'll get some recruits. He also going to get in the transfer portal now and get some players. So I wouldn't be surprised if some kids already decommitted. So don't be surprised if they commit to Arkansas. You know what I mean? And then also be surprised if some of the players on Kentucky right now get in the portal and say they're going to go with him. He's going to bring at least 1 or 2 players with him from Kentucky. I mean, without a doubt, just to put the stamp of how he likes his practice, the expectations. So I mean, and like you said, Speedy, the SEC now is competitive in men's basketball.
Yeah,
it's not how it used to be.
Yeah, it was only really Kentucky and Florida for a while, and then there was like one other team that was randomly like an 8 or 9 seed. Now it's like they had 7 teams in the tournament.
Yep. No, you get 6, 7 teams in the tournament. That's good. I mean, just like South Carolina was in it. You had Tennessee, Ole Miss. I mean, you know what I mean? Ole Miss is another program that's good in the SEC. You know what I mean? They're doing a good job at recruiting too. So I mean, it's like now it doesn't matter what Calipari go or any top college coach will tell you. It's hard recruiting. My buddy got fired at Oklahoma State, Michael Boynton. It's hard. You know, it's hard to recruit with this NIL, and until you get a grasp on that, you won't. You know what I mean? Unless you just have a pedigree of just putting guys in the league. Think about it. If you have a kid and it's either go to Duke, Kentucky, or Arkansas, what do you think you're going to choose?
Duke. And there's a reason why they would choose Duke, because Coach K is still there. He's still recruiting. He's still a part of Duke. Now, obviously, Shire is the head coach over there. The coaching staff is Coach K's coaching staff over there. So, and Duke is world renowned. And the only reason why Kentucky was there was Calipari. Now you're bringing in Scott Drew or Nate Oates. No, obviously Nate Oates is not taking a job. He's decided. Or maybe if they could have drawn Danny Hurley to go over there after winning back-to-back championships. But why would Danny leave UConn when he has a chance?
That's my question. Yeah. Why? I didn't mean to cut you off, but why would he leave? I don't even know why they put his name up. Only way he leaves, he's going to the NBA. You're not making a lot of move. You won back-to-back championships. What else I do? They're gonna throw the book at you to keep you, so you won't go nowhere else.
Yeah, the pattern of the SEC basketball has been like they've also poached their own coaches a lot of the time too. Bruce Pearl went from Tennessee to Auburn, and now he's in the mix too. You mentioned Ole Miss, Sean. Chris Beard is an interesting one because he was a very good coach at Texas Tech. Then he had he was wrongfully wrongfully convicted of the sexual assault thing when he was at Texas, and then now he's built that program up again. But would he take a bigger job with Kentucky is another one that's interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But then it's like, is there an NBA coach that's out there that would take a college job? You know,
I would love to see Mr. Atkinson take a coaching job. Maybe why not? Kenny Atkinson is great with young players, especially young guards. You can ask any young guard that's worked with him over there in Golden State or even with the New York Knicks. Jeremy Lin was one of those guys that he worked with. He's the one that built Lin Sanity. Everybody keeps talking about, well, it was Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin needed a coach that was going to help him develop. Who do you think helped him develop? It was Kenny Atkinson. And it was a shame what the Nets did to him. I didn't understand that. After winning 40-some-odd games his first year with nobody you've ever even heard of on that roster, they made the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you bring in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and they ran him out of there. Kyrie Irving, as he's always been a coach killer, ran him out. So I would love to see Kenny Atkinson taking a college job. I think automatically people will be drawn to him. Kentucky, forget about it. Recruiting players with his smarts and him understanding the guard position and some of these young guards that want to go to a team and go to a coach that's going to help them build them into an NBA style of player, he would be perfect for Kentucky because they bring in a lot of these, great guards.
Yeah, the other one I'm curious on, because you brought up a good point, Sean. One that was very good in college as a coach was John Beilein. Then he went to the NBA with the Cavs. I think he got fired after like 20 games or something like that. And he hasn't coached since, which is very surprising because he was a very good college coach at Michigan. They made the Sweet 16 almost every year. They made a Final Four. They got blown out by Villanova, but still, they built a really good program at Michigan. And now since he's gone, Juwan Howard's running into the ground. Now he's fired.
Yeah, but I also heard too that somebody was saying that I don't know what player it was. NBA player Boxer said Rondo should take the head coach job back in Kentucky.
He would want to coach.
I don't know if he'd be a good coach. I don't know if he'd be a good coach because he's very hot-headed.
I watched him coach AAU. He's not a bad coach in AAU. I seen him coach his son AAU team, which is a pretty good team, and I think he could coach. This is the thing about former players being coached. Some players are going to call it how it is, and I think Rondo would be one of those kind of coaches in the NBA. I mean, in college, he would tell the players how it is. He'll be a player coach to, hey, this is how it's done. I'm not going to say he's going to be sitting there drinking and smoking with his players, but he's going to – I think he would teach them the game a little bit. Rondo's actually smart. Rondo was a good point guard. His career in the NBA – you know what I mean? So it's like I remember Rondo when I was playing for the Bengals, and Kentucky was only an hour away, and they came down to our practice. And Rondo swore he was a wide receiver, and Chad Ochocinco was playing DB on him, and just he jammed the shit out of Rondo. But that was funny. But I mean, back to the history of these schools, those, like I said, Duke, if you had a choice between Duke, Kentucky, and what was the other school I said?
Arkansas, which is now where he is. Yeah.
Arkansas, right? I mean, that's still good, prestigious university. I think as a player, the thing guys got to understand is when you get recruited, where you going to go and where you going to play at. Because as you see, a lot of kids play and then get in the transfer portal. They're not happy with their playing time. So that's another thing. You're going to have to be a player that knows your role and accept it,
Yeah. It is very interesting. I'm interested to see how Calipari builds Arkansas and Arkansas basketball, or a basketball team that really hasn't been that good in the last 5 years. And they need an upgrade over there with the NILs and the portal. And now John Calipari, who's going to be recruiting players over there. I think it'll be big for them. It will definitely bring them up on the top, especially in the SEC, like Speedy was saying, and you can start predicting that Arkansas could be a top 5 team in the country very, very soon, a lot sooner than later, and that has a lot to do with John Calipari. I just think it's a shame the way Kentucky ran him out. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. Kentucky and the fans ran him out of Kentucky. It wasn't that he wanted to leave. It was his dream job. He wanted to be there. They extended his contract. What was it, 2 years ago?
Right.
And now all of a sudden, after 2 years, they're done with Calipari. Why? Because his players didn't show up to the tournament.
Yeah, I think it's definitely on the athletic director. Like 2 years ago, he was trying to take the Texas job, which would have been a lot more money, and then he decided to stay there. So it must have been something between then and now that really got to it. Like you were saying before, like he loves all his players. Like this was the first year that he kind of threw his players under the bus after the loss.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? The way they played in that game.
Yeah. Usually he ended up protecting them, and so there must have been some kind of tension with that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them got paid to throw the game.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's become a business. I've been saying this for a very long time. Nobody wants to believe what I say, but hey, you know what? I might be wrong, or maybe I'm right. And this is the problem.
They played horrible.
Yep.
They played horrible. Kentucky played horrible in that game they lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they played horrible. Just think about it, though. It reminded me of, remember the movie Blue Chips with Shaq and Penny Hardaway?
Penny Hardaway,
Go back. Mm-hmm. You start paying attention, go back, and there'll be more games. You know what I mean? But hey, I'm just a little birdie in the eye that catches a little things every now and then.
Well, you're a birdie, all right, but you're not a little birdie. You're a big birdie. Anyways, UConn beats Purdue 75-60 to become the first back-to-back national champion since Florida in 2006 and 2007. UConn becomes the 8th team to win back-to-back national championships. UConn won every tournament game by double digits for the second straight season. UConn only trailed for 6 minutes and 22 seconds during the entire NCAA tournament. UConn defeated their opponents by 23.3 points per game, surpassing 1996 Kentucky for the most in tournament history. UConn now has 6 championships, tying North Carolina for the 3rd most ever, surpassing Duke and Kansas, who have won 5. Now, I watched the game, okay? It was really a tale of two halves. And what I saw in the game was just complete dominance by the big man. And in the first half, it was completely dominated by Purdue. Even though they were down by 6 points after the first half, going into the second half, I thought Purdue played fantastic. They stayed in the game. They were shooting the ball. They were getting it in the paint. Their point guard was doing everything he could to keep the team in the game. And again, for this tournament, and I'll say this: you can't play a guy all game. He's going to get tired. Okay. And I've said this, and I watched this tournament a lot. All right. I've been watching the tournament because I've been watching Purdue all season long because I thought Zach Edey has been the best player in the country. I really did believe Zach Edey was going to find a way to win this game. And they kept pounding it into the big guy in the first half. And what happened in the second half was very simple. They made sure they were double teaming Zach Edey. They pushed him into spots he was uncomfortable in, and they had to die with the 3. And if you're not in rhythm when it comes to basketball, and you're a young team that is not in rhythm, you're going to lose against a championship team. And UConn, Danny Hurley is a championship coach. He's proven it. And I saw him complaining on the sidelines that the referees weren't calling fouls. Zach Edey was getting every single call. And maybe he was. And maybe he's been getting all the calls in this tournament. But that doesn't mean anything of the complete dominance in the first half by Zach Edey. I think Zach Edey had 16 points in the first half.
Yeah, like almost like more than half, like 2/3 of their team's points.
He was dominating.
Yeah,
he was absolutely dominating in the first half. And what did they do in the second half? Is they really did shut Zach Edey down. That's what they did. And everybody's going to say, well, he ended up with 37 points. Okay. And I don't know if you guys watched the game. He started scoring his points the last 5-6 minutes of the game. Okay. The game was over. Okay. And the problem was nobody else could score. Nobody else could do anything. Their second leading scorer was Braden Smith, their point guard. He was their second. And by the way, he scored 7 of that 12 points in the first half. So you're going to tell me, and I'm looking at the team right now. Kaufman Wren had 4 points. Camden Heidi had 2 points.
Just one dunk.
Lance Jones had 5 points. That's it. And then the rest was Zach Edey. And I mean, if you have Zach Edey, taking 25 shots, and he was 15 for 25, that was the tale of two tapes of the game. You cannot win with one player. Your secondary players have to play. And they weren't getting enough shots. A lot of these, when you have guys like Fletcher Lawyer, who has been a pretty good shooter in this tournament, 0 for 5, or Lance Jones, 2 for 3, barely shot the ball in 23 minutes of play time that he's had on the field.
Gillis had 26 that didn't score.
And here's and another thing is Lance Jones got into foul trouble very early in the game. Right. And a lot of these guys did. Even some of the UConn players got into foul trouble early in this game. And the thing about Zach is he got tired. Okay, he was going up and down the court. UConn is a fast-paced team. You saw in the second half, he was huffing, he was puffing. Every time they were calling a timeout, they sat him. I think he sat, 6-7 minutes of the game?
If even. I don't even think that much.
I mean, he barely sat. And throughout this tournament, he barely sat. And you can't win championships like that. If somehow Purdue did this, it would have been one of the most unbelievable championship wins I've ever seen. I mean, for a guy to just himself dominate a game.
Yeah. And you look at the way that Zach Edey was able to be crafty even in the first half too. And it just really wasn't coming in the second half. Early in the second half, and UConn tried to make him more crafty when he was more tired. And he ended up being out of position on defense a lot too. UConn got a lot of dunks over him, or they were doing lobs, alley-oops over him, trying to make him be more of a finesse type big man, which is not really his style either. But yeah, the main thing that ended up losing the game was the 3-point shooting. Like they didn't even they attempted 1 3-pointer in the entire first half. And they're the second leading scoring team shooting the 3 in the country, only to Kentucky.
And then in the second half, they were forcing threes early. They were just trying to get rhythm, and they knew they couldn't get rhythm or get into rhythm. And then they started pouring the ball back to Zach, back to Zach. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how athletic these guys are and how in shape these guys are. This guy's a 7'4" guy. He's about 260 pounds, 270 pounds. It's a lot on his knees. It's a lot on his body. I mean, Sean, you're a big guy. You know all about that. You played in professional sports for 10 years. When you have all that weight on you and you're going up and down a court all game long without sitting, you're going to get tired, right or wrong.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get tired. There's no way. I don't care. Even if you play the whole game, you're still gonna be tired and exhausted. You're gonna need IVs, bodies, knees sore, everything. I mean, it's tired. I mean, you got to be in shape, but even with the media timeout, you're still tired.
Yeah. And again, you also look at the way Zach Edey plays, the powerful style that he plays. That kind of thing is very hard for him.
Dominant.
That's you steady banging, just banging, and they banging you. Come on, that's. You also got to think about it. Not making it to them. Yeah, they got tired, but he's getting banged up all year. All year. You know what I mean? To take it back to I felt like, not to get off the topic, but even in the women's game, I felt like it was tied because they had to play so hard against LSU and they didn't have enough firepower to beat South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? That's like playing 2 championship games back to back.
And Sean, you bring up a good point too with that. I think UConn, like South Carolina did in their game, utilized their depth a lot more, and you definitely could see the difference with the guards and for UConn especially shooting the 3 in the second.
But
half.
You also saw the difference in this game, and that's why UConn is the champion. If they spread the ball out very well. I mean, if you go up and down this roster, everybody was involved, especially their starters. Tristan Newton had 20 points. Stefan Castle had 15 points. Cam Spencer had 11 points. Donovan Klingan had 11 points. Samson Johnson had 4 points. Alex Caraban had 5 points. They spread the ball out so very well. And you don't know who's going to shoot the ball. We all know who their best player. Tristan Newton's been their best player throughout this tournament. So you know he was going to get enough shots, but he didn't overshoot the ball. He was 6 for 13. And he's a great free throw shooter. He's 6 for 6. And that was another thing that Purdue had a problem in this game shooting free throws, and
been in the past too.
It was a big problem for them in this tournament as well. So
how many free throws they missed?
They missed, I think.
Edie missed 3. Braden Smith missed 1. They were 11. They were 11 for 15. They were 73%.
A lot of those came in the second half, though, the misses, and that's what hurt because UConn Purdue was penetrating inside because they couldn't shoot the 3, so they had to try something, and it just didn't work out for them because UConn, like Keith is saying in the comments section, defending the 3 so well, where Purdue didn't even attempt to shoot them until later in the game, and they were airballing them a bunch of times in the second half.
I mean, and if you're not shooting very well, what do? You go to the hole. You draw fouls.
Yeah,
why
the first thing you do, get them in the bonus so you can get your free throw guys and knock down a free throw. That's basketball 1-on-1. You know, your shot ain't falling. Go get a layup, play some good defense, and get your confidence back going. And, you know, hopefully your shot will come.
Yeah, and they didn't do that. And that was the big problem. It had a lot to do with coaching. And Danny Hurley, who's been here before.
I'm just about to say that. I'd say that's another thing. You got to look at it. Purdue hasn't been to the Final Four. I don't know when.
Ever.
Also, what,
1980 was the last
ever. I say ever because it's been over like 30-something years. So.
Yeah, 20. What is more than 2 decades? It's forever. But also Purdue, I don't think they was ready for that. You know, his coaching experience versus other coach wasn't, you know, that good to me in my eyes because he hasn't been there before, so he doesn't know what to expect. And when you haven't been at the big dance, you don't know what to expect. You don't
know when Purdue is ever going to be there again. I mean, Zach Edey is an unbelievable talent, and everybody could say he's a second-round draft pick in the NBA, and he might be. He might not be built for the NBA. Who knows what these guys are going to be when they step on an NBA court? But again, he's athletic. He's gifted in the NCAA. And if you're an NBA team in the late first round, or maybe even early in the first round, depending on how he does at the combine and where do they see him as an NBA talent, he's a 7'4" guy. He's a big body who can get into the paint and dominate. He's a big body too. He's not a skinny big man. When Mitchell Robinson came into the NBA, he was a skinny big man. If you look at Wembanyama, he's a skinny, tall guy. Porzingis too. They had to build their bodies. This guy's already built for the NBA. He's going to get even stronger. So, and he's a good defender. He's a good blocker. The problem with him, I thought in this game against UConn, who's more athletic than Purdue, was when they got into the paint and they were challenging Zach Edey and his defense, he didn't challenge them enough. And that was the problem. Now, he had a couple of blocks in this game. I think he had like 4 or 5 blocks. But when you're a dominant big man and they don't have anybody that can stop you in the paint, if I was the Boilermakers, I would have gone to the hole, drawn fouls, and made them shoot, made UConn shoot the 3, which they've been so bad in the Final Four game. They could not shoot the 3 if you paid them to. So and Danny Hurley, what he did was masterful. I thought Danny Hurley was the better coach. I thought his team was very well, put together in this game.
They were prepared. They were better prepared. That's at the end of the day, they were better prepared for the situation.
They were. And it showed. I mean, they completely dominated the second half. It wasn't even close. It really wasn't. When you look at the second, it wasn't even the battle of 2 halves. It was close in the first half, and it was all UConn in the second half. It was. How many people texted me saying, "Oh, stuck
a fork in them."
Yeah, stuck a fork in them. Good. I mean, it was a good pick. It was good while it lasted, Errol. But Purdue had no chance in the second half. Now, again, I will say this: there were a lot of crazy calls, a lot of fouls being called in favor of UConn in the second half. That was questionable, and I'm not saying, and I did think that in some aspects it could have been rigged. I'm not saying that it was, but there was a lot of crazy calls that I was standing there. I was like, "What? How the hell is that a foul?" So I was very surprised the way the game ended. It was completely dominated by UConn, and congratulations to Danny Hurley. Okay, a guy that's very well respected. I respected him. I wanted one of the Hurley brothers to take over my Duke Blue Devils team. I've been saying this over and over and over again. Coach K made a big mistake, and everybody keeps saying, "Well, Shire took them to the Elite Eight." Okay, he's got the best recruiting class that he's ever had next year. Where do you think that team's going?
Hopefully they're going to get better at coaching because
they have the number one prospect in all of college basketball heading to their school for 1 year.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to rely on scoring 54 points in a tournament game, even beating Houston to win, because that thing is not sustainable. I know Virginia won a championship, but that's Virginia every other year they're in the tournament. They always lose because they score less than 60 points, and it doesn't work in this modern game. And going back to what you were saying, Sean, like the coaching difference when it comes to in-game, too, I think UConn just definitely has a more well-rounded identity where they don't have an obvious playing style. And we were talking about it a couple weeks ago with Calipari too. Like Calipari's always been, adjusting to the big man. This year's team was quite the opposite. They shot the three very well, and they didn't have a great defensive team. And Purdue, I think when Zach Edey couldn't play that power game, they had a tough time adjusting, and they live by the three, die by the three, like you said before.
Remember this name, Cooper Flagg.
Yep.
Okay. We've been trying to get him on the show for the last year. All right. And I told Speedy to reach out to him when he was playing in the championship high school game. And this guy is as good a player as I've seen go to college in the last 5-6 years. This kid is going to be a star in the NBA. He reminds me of a younger, talented version of Kevin Durant, but inside presence, can dominate in the paint, can shoot the three, rebound, jam the ball. He's unbelievable. He is a sensational player. If you guys have not checked out Cooper Flagg, well, definitely check him out. He's as good a player as I've seen in a very long time. This guy is the number one pick in next year's draft. Guarantee it. Seal the deal. Mark it. I'm telling you, Cooper Flagg will be the number one pick in next year's draft class. I don't care who gets drafted, how talented is the draft. And some people say next year's draft class is going to be very talented, as they always do. But this kid is as good a player as I've seen in a very long time. And everybody's going to want this kid. Everybody's going to want this kid. So.
Keith says Hurley's a great coach, and he watched Flagg the other day. He's the number one prospect in the country. So, yeah, he's buying in this hype.
He's awesome. Yeah. There's no question. This guy is – and Kevin Durant speaks very highly of him. He's seen him, and that people are comparing his game to Kevin Durant's. Okay? So – and I think he's even more talented than Kevin Durant. Crazy to say that when you see this kid play. And this kid is a banger. He's fun to watch. And I'm telling you right now, I've watched a lot of basketball, and I've watched a lot of Duke games and a lot of Duke talent. This guy could be better than every single one of them that have been drafted in the last 8 years, including the guy that's playing for the Celtics, Mr. Tatum. So that's how good this kid is. And I'm telling you right now, Shire, I'm not a big Shire fan. There's no reason why this team doesn't make the Final Four next year. And if they don't, fire him right at the spot because he's that good. And they got the third best prospect in the country coming there too, who's going to be a top 5, top 6 pick in next year's class. This is one of the best recruiting classes they've had in a very long time, Duke. So, and Danny Hurley has a huge and a very good recruiting class. And if Arkansas gets the recruits that, obviously John Calipari has recruited over the last 2 years, they could have a very good bunch of prospects as well on their team too. So, congratulations to the UConn Huskies. Well-deserved, very well-respected. I mean, Danny Hurley's very well-respected throughout the college game. And I think he's one of the best coaches. And I'm going to tell you this right now. As you see, Donovan, he went from the NCAA to the NBA after winning national championships, back-to-back national championships. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny Hurley gets a call in the next year or two to go coach in the NBA, because I think he's a great coach. I think his style of game is an NBA style of game, as you can see. Pick and roll, top of the key. I'm sorry.
He comes from a family of coaching too, though.
Yep.
Coaching for him. I mean, so the pedigree is there. I mean, I think he's not young, but he's not old either. So he's like right there in between. So he's the guy that should get a shot. Instead of always giving, your boy Doc Rivers that you hate.
My boy, I can't stand Doc. I can't stand him.
I said, did you not hear what I just said?
My boy, he's not my boy.
I said your boy that you don't like. I said that.
Oh, okay, all right,
I said that. listen sometimes. You got a little wax in your ears, Hey.
I don't know about wax. I clean my ears, buddy.
Don't worry, Sean. I've said that sarcastically too about saying your Gamecocks quarterback is his boy.
You know what I want? I want to try that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the television. They have like this
commercial at 2 a.m. that you be watching.
I don't believe. Yeah, you shoot it in your ear and it gets the wax. I want to try that crap. That looks pretty cool. I have instead of sticking a Q-tip in my ear, I'm afraid I'm going to puncture my eardrum. I mean, that's pretty cool. Have you checked that out? The infomercial? That's pretty cool.
I've seen it.
Why don't you buy it? I mean, you got the money.
That's how I know. That's how I know you was up.
Dude, I don't sleep. I have sleep apnea. I don't sleep. I don't
sleep apnea too, and I still give me some sleep.
Well, congratulations to you. You have better sleep apnea than I do.
Maybe you need more oxygen in your machine.
I haven't used the machine. I went off of it. I went from the mouth.
Hey, there you go. That's the problem.
South Carolina beats Iowa 87-75 to win the national championship, leading many WNBA stars to criticize Caitlin Clark. WNBA legend Diana Taurasi said that the reality is coming for Clark in the WNBA, and she won't look superhuman like she does or like she has been in college. Las Vegas Aces star Kelsey Plum says that she won't be able to shoot threes from the logo as consistently in the WNBA. Fox Sports' Skip Bayless said he would draft Caitlin Clark over Bronny James in a heartbeat. I would agree with him.
I would so. Hey, I don't. So let me ask you this though, Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
What is the weakest part of her game?
Defense. That's a lot of people in the NBA's weakest.
No, I don't just say defense. I feel like she doesn't have good ball handling skills.
Oh, she's a great ball.
She's
a great ball handler.
Oh no, she's not.
She's great.
I'm telling you. Hey, you guys need to go back and watch the film. When she has pressure on her, she turns the ball over.
When you're getting double teamed. Hold on one second. Hold on. Let me finish this. Culture Hardwood reports that the Portland Trail Blazers have had multiple conversations with Clark. Clark had 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in the national championship loss to undefeated South Carolina. Okay, to get back to you with Caitlin Clark. All right. And you have your own arguments to Caitlin Clark that she's not a good ball handler. And that's fine. That's your opinion. I think Caitlin Clark could play in the NBA. I've said this many, many times. You're a shooter. And I don't care what these Diana Taurasi, she's not even in the WNBA anymore. Why is she speaking? Okay. I don't want to hear from Diana Taurasi. All right. She was a great college player and she was a great WNBA player. But there's a thing called haters, all right? And Caitlin Clark is a sensational player. And Diana Taurasi to throw Caitlin Clark under the bus and say, hey, you know what? She's not going to be able to she's not going to be superhuman. She's not going to be able to jack up threes like she's doing in college basketball. That's a joke, okay? Because all these girls have been playing in the NCAA. And yes, they're the best players from the NCAA. She was the best player in the country by far this year. It wasn't even close. Now, it's a team game. You know this, Sean. Basketball, it could be a single-man game in the regular NBA. If you have the best player in the world, you can win. Ask LeBron James. He's done it. So, now you need other players. You need talent around you. Obviously, Kyrie Irving.
You got to have some role players. You got to have some role players. She had role players.
Yes, you need role players.
She had that. She had that. We got to get that. We got to get back. Guess what? Because guess what? When she beat the South Carolina
Clark have on her team? I want to hear it. Give me another player.
Mitchell Marshall, whatever her name is, Marshall, whatever the
Gabby Marshall.
25.
So you're going to sit here and tell me that Gabby Marshall was the other player on the team that was going to help her win. What did Gabby Marshall do in the national championship?
Hey, what's the difference? Hey, so what's the difference? What's the difference if you got there? You went to the national championships 2 years in a row and you lost, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they lost to two better defensive teams. Also, keep in mind, and Clark still played well in both those games.
Two great teams from the SEC, right? That lets you know she's putting numbers up, but she doesn't fucking play nobody.
No, their conference is still pretty good. They're not the SEC good, but the problem is they're a smaller team, Iowa.
Hey,
Like,
yeah, but it's not the SEC. It's the difference. It's the difference. It's elite. Then it's okay. Then it's trash.
Let's see what. All right, I'm looking at Gabby Marshall's numbers in the championship game. 6 points. Wonderful. 40 minutes, 6 points. Fantastic.
Nice.
She's great. She's wonderful.
How many turnovers she had? How many turnovers she had?
Come on, man. She had no help in this game. None. They depend too much on.
What about the big girl, Stecky? What about Stecky?
Stecky,
whatever her name.
She's still undersized. She's still undersized for Carolina's sake, man.
Honey Stecky had 11 points.
Which is still pretty good considering how much size South Carolina has.
I'm just saying, nobody helped her. Nobody helped Caitlin
Yeah,
Clark.
South Carolina had size, but guess you know who else was doing good for South Carolina in that game? It wasn't the girl from Brazil, Camilla. It was the Caucasian white girl, 21.
Chloe, I forget her last name.
He says Caucasian white girl.
Yeah, I forget Chloe. I forget her last name.
That Caucasian white girl.
The blonde. I know the blonde.
Yes.
Blonde. Yes.
That Caucasian white girl.
Yeah. She's good. She got a lot of rebounds. She's long.
Caucasian if you're white.
Yeah, you're right.
But Sean, you're just like highlighting the difference of the two teams. Like South Carolina has double the depth Iowa does.
I don't know if you guys checked out what Harnstein.
Hey, first of all, she only plays 6 to 7 players. That's all she uses.
Iowa only relies on only 4.
Did you hear what Harnstein said?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then also Caitlin Clark is a little turnover prone. As my guy Fish would say, Fish telling you, she's a little turnover prone. When you look at her, when you put pressure on her, she's not a good ball handler.
That's anybody. That's any player. Kyrie Irving, when he put pressure on him, does he turn the ball over? He does. He does. Steph Curry does the same thing. You put pressure on him at the perimeter. Yes, Sean. Yes. Everybody.
Hey, you don't have a lick of basketball skill in you at all, okay, bro?
So now you're saying you're a better basketball player than me too.
Oh, I know for damn sure. I'm a better basketball player than you.
Oh, you want to bet on that one? Oh man, this is great.
Sure.
You will destroy me. You will destroy me in basketball.
I know for sure. I can show you the letters.
What does that mean? What does that mean when you're 18, 19 years old? You could show me all the letters you want. You could show me everything that you want to show me. That doesn't mean that you could beat me in basketball now.
Hold on. I got a great stat. 8.9 assists per game, but 4.7 turnovers a game. That's not good. That is not good.
That's like a 2 turnover ratio.
You think she's going to be able to handle a screen from Draymond Green in the NBA?
Absolutely.
Get the fuck out of here.
Absolutely. She'll be at the free throw line. She'll be at the free throw line because he's not going to do it. She's going to smack the you-know-what out of her.
She's gonna run into Draymond's chest and her ponytail might.
Her ponytail will just flop right back. Hey, the way Draymond Green puts puts up, the way he hits people or where he puts up those picks, she's going to do a lot more than flop.
or the way he puts chokeholds on people.
Oh, could you imagine him putting a chokehold on Caitlin Clark?
Yeah.
A 6'8", 260 pound guy.
You really think Caitlin Clark could handle the NBA though?
Yes, I do. I mean, she's not a starter. She's not a starter in the NBA, and I don't think she is. But I
didn't say she's a starter, but she can shoot, right? I understand she can shoot. Right. Yeah. But I'm talking about the physicality of the game. I don't think she can handle.
Well, here's the question:
she's not going to be driving to the hoop.
Well, hold on one second. What physicality? What physicality in the NBA? Tell me. What is so physical about the NBA? I know.
It's not physical like it used to be, but it's still physical. It's still physical.
Come on. You know this. We're the same age. We watched the 90s. That was physical basketball. This is like flag football on an NBA basketball court. Okay? You flick a guy, he's at the free throw line. That's what happens. I mean, LeBron James bitches and moans every single time he gets touched. He gets flicked. That's a foul. That's a foul. I mean, come on, guys. You're going to tell me the physicality? Now, if it was the NBA in the 90s, you're absolutely right, Sean. She would not work. I mean, could you imagine Steph Curry playing in the time of the 90s? Could you imagine that? Where you could put your hands on him and force him to move in different directions he don't want to move? I mean, Steph Curry would not last.
Kayla Clark weighs 120, not even 120, dripping wet, bro.
Okay.
She's a two-pick. She's not going to be.
When Steph Curry came into the league, how much did he weigh?
170, I think.
Not even. 160. Okay, Steph Curry was not a big man. He was not.
Two different people.
Mitchell Robinson, I think, as a big man, I think he was like 180, and he was like 6'11". I mean, come on. And you're going to tell me that Caitlin Clark can't shoot in the NBA and compete in the NBA? She can. I'm telling you. Look at Scoot. Scoot was back and forth in the G League. I don't even think he's an NBA player anymore. I mean, seriously, he was back and forth for Portland. Could you imagine what Portland would do if they had somebody like Caitlin Clark? She would be the biggest star over there. She would draw so many people to come and watch her play. And for anybody to say, and by the way, I understand that Diana Taurasi doesn't like her and everybody doesn't like her because she's been the face of, right now, she's the number one pick in the WNBA. And even though she came out and said she will not play in the Big Three tournament, even though she can make $5 million, I give her a lot of credit because I would have taken the money. I have a chance to make $5 million.
Why? She makes $3 million already. She makes $3 million right now. So what the hell is that extra $2 million?
$5 million extra. You could use $5 million extra, couldn't you?
Already.
Come on. You're going to tell me you couldn't use $5 million extra?
Hold on. She's still in school and she's making.
I'm not asking you the question. I'm asking you another question. If you had a chance to make $5 million extra, you wouldn't do it? Honest.
Depends.
Oh, stop.
I'm being honest. I'm telling you, it depends.
Somebody paid me $5 million to stand on the corner with my ass hanging out, I'd be doing it every single day. Morning, noon, and night.
Sometimes chasing the money fucks you over. I did it. When I signed to go to Tennessee, it fucked me over. Chasing the money every time.
How did it mess you up?
Because I went to a team that wasn't comfortable, that didn't know me. The organization didn't understand me, my personality, and who I was.
What was your personality? What were who you were? What? Tell us what type of player you were.
I was just straightforward. I stopped the run and played straightforward. I don't want that bullshit. And offense and coach, don't be just throwing the ball all damn game. We're not gonna keep going out there. You 3 and out. Run the damn ball. Use your weapons. That's the type of player. I was straightforward. Any player that I done played with will tell you that. I was straightforward. I would go up and tell the head coach, this shit don't work. Offensive coordinator, Cincinnati coach, when Brat was the offensive coordinator. Hey, man, quit calling this shit, man. Quit running them screens on 3rd and 8. Everybody knows it's coming. Call something else.
The thing is, Sean,
I didn't have nothing to lose, so that's why I always been the way I am.
Sean, and you still do that, even when you're on the show. You have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. I mean, your personality, obviously you're raw. And I like that about you. I like that you're raw and your personality varies in many different ways. You disagree or agree with you, you're going to say and you're going to speak your piece. And that I respect about you. The problem is when you come out and you say some of these interesting takes, I wonder if you're all there. Okay, that's just my opinion. Sometimes I think you're lost on some of the things that you say, but I respect.
I'm like Charles Barkley, man. I'm like Charles Barkley.
Boy, are you ever? You could take that to another level, man. There's no question you're like Charles Barkley. Yeah, just hope in many different ways you don't act like him. Okay.
I think I'm a better golfer than him.
Oh, you don't want to golf like him. That's for damn sure.
I said I'm a better golfer than him. I think.
I think anybody's a better golfer than him. I think anybody's a better golfer than him. I don't even play golf, and I'm probably a better golfer than him.
Yeah, I don't even think you can golf. You probably could putt. I don't think you could.
No, I could drive a golf ball. I could drive.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't putt. I've tried. I think I tried to play, a couple holes one time, but I know the game. I watched the game. I watched like the U.S. Open and all that. I've been to the U.S. Open a couple of times and got to, work the press and interview some of the players. So I know the game a little bit, but I don't really putt. I don't know anything about it. The greens and how wet it is, how dry it is, where to push. I don't know anything about that stuff. So no, I'm not a golfer. Now, should I play? Yeah. In the business that I'm in, you meet a lot of people when you play golf and you're competitive. So do I think I could do it? Hey, listen, I played every single sport. There's no reason why I couldn't. There's no reason why. Am I going to be good? Probably not. I mean, it's not an easy sport. You know that. Sean, golf is one of the hardest sports. And you don't have a team that's going to help. You are the team.
Yeah, unless you are the team. You are the team. Unless you are the team. You are the team unless shut up. No, you are the team.
6 times.
You are the team unless
7 times.
In a scramble. When you play in the scramble, you are the team. You are the team when you play in the golf scramble. You are the team. I'm going for 10, you fucker.
Why don't we do it for a great number of 10? You are the team. You are the team. You have to be the team. You're the team. Speedy, you're the team. Am I the team? We're the team. We're all the team. Fish, we're the team. We're all the team. Austin, we're a team. Everybody's a team. Caitlin Clark, we're the team. Caitlin, you don't even need a player. We're a team. I'll shoot for you, and we'll just count your points as a team. There we go. It's a team game, team sport. I love Sean. I think he muted himself. We're the team. We're the team.
It's a team sport. Sport, like you said.
We love you, Sean. We absolutely love you. I'm sorry. Anyways, when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to Spotify and the Ringer audience engagement manager, Austin Gayle. He's been a friend of the show. We haven't had him on for a little while.
Yeah, well, that's since Tyler was on the show.
It's crazy. No Tyler, but Austin is back, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff, even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Darryl Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, an ex-NFL player, because he's the team. We're the team. We're all the team. Sean Smith. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listing for all our shows is go to our website, our new website, and brand new, fantastically put, structured, everything. I hope Austin's checking out our stuff. I mean, if he's not, Austin, you got to be part of the team. You got to be a part of the team. As everybody knows, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And we haven't had this guy on the show for a while, since Tyler. I mean, that was a long time.
Yeah, I think it was late 2021 regular season. It
was right at the tail end of COVID-19. Okay, it was the tail end. We were hiding in our houses, hiding under the tables. Speedy got COVID. I got COVID. Everybody got COVID. I mean, my shoes got COVID. Okay, but we finally have him on, and we're very happy to have him on, as we are now talking to, again, Spotify and the Ringer audience engagement manager, Austin Gayle. Austin, what's up, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Great to be back on.
Absolutely. I mean, Austin, you're doing big things right now. I mean, I don't know if anybody's checked out The Ringer. He's interesting. It's a very interesting show. But I love your takes. I love everything that you're doing right now. Obviously, college football and the NFL drafts is right around the corner, and it's fun. Everybody can't wait. What is it? April 27th is obviously day one of the NFL draft, and there's a lot of questions right now on where some of these teams are going to draft. Are they going to trade out? Is Washington trading out of the second pick? Is New England trading out of the third pick? Who's jumping up? Who's going after Brock Bowers? Is it the Jets? Are the Jets trading down? Are they going to do this? Are they going to get back their second round pick because they traded it for Aaron Rodgers now that they keep their first, because Aaron Rodgers didn't play 65% of his snaps? Who knows? But, Austin, obviously, this is one of the biggest times for you, and kind of, looking at what these teams could or should be doing in this year's draft. We all know who's going number one in Caleb Williams. He's going to Chicago. There's no question, no argument to that. I'm surprised Chicago hasn't even gone on the board right now and said, okay, Caleb Williams is going one. Let's go on to the next one. Let's talk about Washington. So Washington, do you believe that the Commanders are trading out of that pick? And if you don't, who do they go with?
I do feel like there has not been enough conversation in the pre-draft process about Washington potentially trading out. I think that everyone is assuming the number 2 overall pick in this class is going to be the Washington Commanders taking a quarterback, whether that's Jaden Daniels of LSU or the UNC quarterback Drake May. There's been, in the beginning of the process, Drake May was the overwhelming favorite to be the number 2 overall pick. But as we've gotten further in this process, Jaden Daniels, the Heisman winner from this previous season, is now the favorite to go to the Washington Commanders there at number 2. I think Washington should consider trading back and waiting to take this bite of the apple on bringing in the big quarterback until they feel very confident in the roster and the support system that they have in place. But sometimes you're going to get your hand forced, right? I think there's a really good chance that they are impatient with how they want to address the quarterback position. And with Drake May or Jaden Daniels there on the board, they're going to take that swing. My preference would be, which who gives a shit about whose preferences this day? People thought Zach Wilson was going to be good. He busted. People thought Mac Jones was going to be good. He didn't pan out. Trey Lance barely has played a snap in the NFL. No one really knows. And that 2021 quarterback class, I think, is a good way to look at quarterback drafting, right? Everyone thought that was a really good class. 5 quarterbacks went in the first 16 picks. This year, everyone's saying Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy. All these guys could go in the first. We need to hold our water there. I don't think necessarily anyone should be overconfident in their own evaluation of this class. My opinion alone is Drake May should be the pick here at number 2. I understand the interest in Jaden Daniels. I understand the interest in bringing in someone who I won't give him the RG3 comp that everyone gives, because he does not have the arm talent that RG3 had coming out. But to get another chance at a athletic, running quarterback that Jaden Daniels is, someone who I think is a legitimate game changer with how he runs the football, not on Lamar Jackson's level, but somewhere close to it, maybe tier just below. I understand the interest. For me, I lean Drake May. They'll probably end up taking Jaden Daniels. That's where the betting odds are favored. There obviously is this chance they get traded out. There are a lot of teams that could come up for either player.
And here's the thing. Kingsbury is right now the offensive coordinator. He likes those mobile quarterbacks. And that's why a lot of people think Daniels is probably going to go 2 to them. And again, you look at next year's draft, how many quarterbacks are coming out of next year's draft class? 2. So in the first round, maybe. I honestly, I think Shador is a second-round draft pick. I don't think he's a first-round talent. That's my opinion. And no offense to Deion Sanders, and I know he thinks otherwise. I think he's wrong. But I think there's only one quarterback that's going to be drafted or should be drafted in the first round. So you have to take your shot now, because Dan Quinn maybe has 3 years to get this team winning in an NFC East that's honestly, I'm just being honest, not that good. Okay. The Giants they're unsure about their quarterback. Jalen Hurts did not have the season that he had the year before. They paid him a lot of money. He didn't produce. And we all know what the Cowboys are doing with Dak Prescott after this year. So they'll be looking for another quarterback as well. So it really, Dan Quinn has 3 years to get this thing moving in the right direction, especially in a conference that's not the AFC. I mean, the AFC has all these young quarterbacks and Patrick Mahomes and all that crap that you have to deal with for the next, 15 years. As we all know, as a Jet fan, we had to deal with Tom Brady for almost 20. So to me, it's confusing on where you go. So I agree with you. I do believe they need to draft a quarterback. I just, like you said, you don't want to make the wrong decision. I think Daniels, it makes a lot of sense to them because of Kingsbury, but I think you go with May because I think he's the best, ready quarterback in this class. So I agree with you.
I think there's also going to be pressure from ownership in Washington to pick a quarterback, right? And if you're pressuring first-year general manager Adam Peters to take a quarterback, just please let him take his guy, right? We know the rumors coming out of Carolina when they trade up for the number 1 overall pick because ownership wants to get a new quarterback. They want to bring in the top guy, but then they don't allow the general manager, Scott Fitterer, to actually make the pick at quarterback, and you force Bryce Young into that situation. All of a sudden, Fitterer's gone, Frank Reich's fired, and you're kind of restarting. If ownership is pressuring Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, say, hey, I don't want to wait on quarterback here, pick the best available after Caleb Williams, your guys' call. I like that. If ownership says you need to take a quarterback and you need to take the guy I like, that's how you end up in these situations where you're a losing team forever, right? That's where I feel like there's probably not a worse fan base right now in terms of the vibes than Carolina. You gave Caleb Williams to the Chicago Bears for what? And DJ Moore to get Bryce Young? You're in a horrible spot, and you had to fire your coach. There's all this new stuff. I think that to avoid that kind of fallout, ownership can say, all right to say, Washington hasn't had a good quarterback in a while. I'm ready to move on from Sam Howell. Take one of these guys. But your choice. That, I think, is the best route forward for Washington, and I hope that they do have that opportunity to do that.
So a lot of talk was made about Marvin Harrison not doing his pro day, not running in any of the drills at the combine either. And a lot of people thought he could fall because of that. What are your thoughts, and what would you do if you were the general managers in that spot?
Yeah, I don't buy that he's falling for any of those reasons. I think he has good sources within the league that no one really cares about how fast his 40 is, or no one really cares about what he's working out. I think everyone in the league is viewing Marvin Harrison Jr. I know there's smoke, right? I know there's smoke that some teams have the Malik Neighbors higher. Some teams have Rome Odunze, the Washington receiver, higher. My opinion is Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the first receiver off the board for the same reason he would be the first receiver off the board after he finished his previous season. He did not need to weigh in. He did not need to run a 40. He did not need to run a 3-cone. Best receiver in football this past year. I'd argue he's one of the better receivers in football the past 2 years. The team that does take him is going to get, in my opinion, the comp I have for him is A.J. Green, an A.J. Green clone that people forget how good he was for the Cincinnati Bengals coming out. He will have, going into the NFL, Marvin Harrison Jr., the lowest average yards after the catch per reception of any first-round receiver over the last 10 years. That's okay because he wins before the catch. A.J. Green was the same type of player, not a guy that's the shifty, loose athlete after the catch, someone who's winning down the football field in vertical routes. He turns 50-50 balls into 75-25 his way. I think that I've been doing this for 10 years. My first mock draft was in 2014. If Marvin Harrison Jr. does not pan out, that would be the most surprising miss in this entire process. I'll have to reevaluate how I look at receivers for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. By the way, we are talking to Spotify and the Ringer audience engagement manager, Austin Gayle. And guys, check out the Ringer. It's fantastic. Austin does a great job. His team does a great job. You just mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors and Dunze and Rome. I love what I've heard about Rome. And if anybody doesn't know the story about him at the combine, he actually stayed and did the combine over because he wanted to break all his numbers He wanted to make sure that his numbers were even better. He showed everybody that this guy, he will do anything to be the best. And that's what you look for when you're looking for a player at the combine. A guy that's not going to give up, he's going to give it your all, and that's the type of player. But I believe Marvin Harrison is a very interesting, take over there because he didn't have a combine, really. He didn't run the combine. He didn't really do any cones. He didn't do anything. He did interview at the combine. He did speak to a couple of managers and general managers and coaches. And we all know who his father was, one of the greatest wide receivers of, his era. Obviously played with Peyton Manning. It doesn't hurt, and Reggie Wayne. But my question to you is, and you say that he's not going to fall out of that spot. Arizona, I've heard stories that Arizona really likes Malik Neighbors. This is what I've heard. They like Malik Neighbors. He fits what they're looking for. He's kind of like a better version of Christian Kirk. That's what they liked over there. They should have never gotten rid of Christian Kirk. He goes to the Jaguars. Look how good he has been. It's a surprise for the money that a lot of people were questioning the Jaguars. Do you think that Arizona would pass up Marvin Harrison Jr.? And if they do you see the Chargers deciding to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., or do they go after the offensive lineman? Because that's the type of coach a guy like Jim Harbaugh is. He likes to build from the trenches, and there's a guy named Alt over there sitting there who some people say is the best offensive lineman in the last 3 years of the draft. Do you believe he goes if Arizona picks Neighbors? Does the Chargers go after the wide receiver or the offensive lineman?
I think that if Arizona picks Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr. and does not trade back from 4, I think my favorite of the two options are for them to either stay put at 4 and take Marvin Harrison Jr., who I feel is the best receiver in this class. He's also among the media the consensus best receiver in this class. Or they trade out for an offer, say, from the Minnesota Vikings for pick number 11, pick 23, a future second, whatever it may be. If they don't do one of those two things and say they do take Malik Neighbors, I wouldn't be upset if the franchise went into the garbage because it's over. Like, we're just done. We're done with the Cardinals after that. It's over. They don't know how to draft. They haven't been able to draft the last 20 years. Every pick they've made in the first round outside of Kyler Murray has not panned out. It's time to make a good decision. How about we make a good decision with our pick? I think that would be a bad move by the Cardinals. At number 5, how I think Jim Harbaugh is looking at that pick is he's looking to trade down. If there is a team looking to come up for a quarterback and say the Cardinals do go Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to try and get out of that pick, allocate more capital because he needs cheap players. He just let Mike Williams leave the door because he doesn't have money. He let Keenan Allen leave for a 4th-round pick because he doesn't have money. They need money. Getting cheap players and allocating more capital by trading down is something they want to do. If they can't, if the offer isn't there, I do think they go along the offensive line. Why? Jim Harbaugh has this sexy girlfriend, right? It's Justin Herbert. It's the hot girlfriend, but he's not a guy who you get the hot girlfriend, you go get a nice sports car, maybe a new jacket and something flashy. He's like, I'm going to wear these khakis every single day, and I'm not changing who I am. This is how I win. You're either here with me or you're here without me. That's investing in the offensive line. I think it could be Joe Alt. He could be trading back and looking at Olu Fashanu, Troy Fautanu of Washington. He is going to do what he did in San Francisco, which is invest in the trenches. And the other thing he did in San Francisco, win. And I really do feel like passing on Marvin Harrison Jr. in a vacuum for what will be maybe a worse player on the consensus board and maybe a worse player in the NFL's eyes is fine as long as he's committed to the plan, which I do think long-term Harbaugh, who won in San Francisco, who won at Michigan, will find a way to win in Los Angeles as well.
It's so interesting you bring up, Jim Harbaugh and what he wears, because he does wear the same khakis. He wears the same polos. Everybody makes fun of him. But that's who he is. That's what he's all about. And I respect Jim Harbaugh because he doesn't change his way. And that you definitely respect. But let's say the Chargers have a chance to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. He's sitting there. I believe he's the best player in this year's draft class. I think he predominantly the most talented player coming out of this year's class. If the Chargers trade with the Giants and trade down one spot, I could see the Giants moving up at 5. Now, we've heard that the Patriots and the Washington Commanders will not trade with the Giants. They said they will not let the Giants move up for that pick. I don't know why the Patriots care if the Giants move up at 3. I mean, they're not playing. They're not in the same division or any of that, so it makes no sense.
They're still salty with the Super Bowls.
Who knows? I have no idea why that happened. Maybe Kraft, is hanging out, hung out with Mara at one of those parlors and didn't get what he wanted. I don't know.
Maybe he's hanging out with the girl OBJ was in his bed with the pizza box.
Maybe that was the reason why too. But do you see the Giants at 5 moving up one spot to snag arguably the best wide receiver in the last 10 years? And that's crazy to say because you have Jefferson, you have CeeDee Lamb. Do you believe that the Giants could make that move and get Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I think there's a chance, but that would be just absolutely foolish by the Chargers. Like, I don't think the value makes sense. It doesn't make sense to trade back one spot and pick up an additional third, maybe a fourth, just so you pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. and have this opportunity to pick an offensive lineman when you would have just maybe picked him in that spot anyway. I don't think the Chargers make that move. The Chargers, if they're trading down, in my opinion, are coming down to the Vikings at 11 or the Raiders at 13. Like, they're looking to go a bit ways further, so they're able to add legitimate capital, potentially even a future first or a first in this year's draft, an additional first in this year's draft, to legitimately upgrade the roster with cheaper rookie contract talent. Now, for the Giants, I've heard rumors about them interested in this quarterback class, rumors about maybe them wanting to go from 6-2 or 6-3 to have the swing of the bat on, say, Jaden Daniels or Drake May or even J.J. McCarthy. I don't know if I necessarily buy that either. Talking with different people who work on the Giants beat, I think that there's more of a chance that they stay put at 6 or even trade down to try and build around Daniel Jones. Give this one more shot with Daniel Jones. Know that you can get out of the contract after this year if it doesn't pan out.
Yeah, so about the Giants, they have a lot of decisions they can make. We've heard quarterback. They love J.J. McCarthy. We've heard different wide
receivers. They're not drafting J.J. McCarthy. Stop with this. It's not happening.
What do you think will happen with the Giants? What would you do if you were the Giants in any realistic draft scenario?
I mean, I do think that they're a team that does probably want to look to trade down. They're not one piece away, not at all. I think their receiver room needs help. They could easily go with Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze or Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the table. I still feel like their interior offensive line needs help. Yes, they've added some stuff in free agency, but nothing that I think you can write home about. Defensively, cornerback room needs help. The edge pressure needs help. They added Brian Burns, but Kayvon Thibodeau still hasn't turned the corner. This is not a team that should be doubling down, right? It's like the guy who won't leave the blackjack table at 4 a.m. and he's asking for extra money from you. You need to chill out and go have a burrito, go home, reset, and come back. They need to go home and reset. And I honestly feel this year, trading back, adding capital, building up the roster. So if Daniel Jones does work, you have a better team and you can continue to build around him. And if he doesn't, you abandon ship and you look at the top of next year's draft, or you try and become this team that's trying to position themselves for a big name free agent quarterback. We never know when those guys are going to come about.
Well, you mentioned a burrito, and there's one ex-NFL player right over here that loves burritos, Sean Smith.
Your girl likes burritos. I understand.
She does. She actually does.
I'm not a burrito kind of guy. I'm a quesadilla kind of guy.
Well, okay? Don't tell your wife that. Right. I mean, your girlfriend that.
And then on top of that, since we're talking about the Giants need coaching. Daboll's going to be fired after Game 6. So I mean, I'm not really understanding. So make it make sense.
Make it make sense. What are we lost on here? Yeah. I mean, the Giants right now, their coach ran out half the coaching staff. I mean, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to fill in those spots. They don't even have a defensive coordinator right now. I mean, they don't have anybody there. Who's their defensive coordinator right now? Shane Bowen. I mean, that's great when they had arguably Wink Martindale, one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, because Daboll decided, hey, you know what? I want to be Chucky and I want to go crazy and I want to go chopping at the bit during the season because I think I'm the greatest.
Daboll just think he knows more football than he thinks he does, and he really doesn't.
Well,
it's another Belichick guy.
Oh, so Sean doesn't like Daboll. So there you go, Austin. He's not a Daboll fan. You got a question for Austin, buddy?
Yeah, I got a question for Austin. What makes you such the guru? That's what I want to know, because these guys, I'm not knocking what you do. These guys will give you so much praise. I want to know what makes you the guru.
First of all, so you understand, that's Shane Hallam, who is the draft guru of every single year, and he's coming on next. Austin is a guru when it comes to technically understanding the NFL and understanding. He's a great draft guy. He's a great football knowledgeable guy. Austin knows his football, but Shane Hallam is the draft guru. And he's on next, buddy. So then you can ask Shane Hallam why he's such a great guru. But everybody would tell you, if you know, and Austin, you know Shane. Shane's all over social media. Everybody follows him. He's been around a long time. He predicts the draft 3 years before the draft even happens. So, yeah, that's the truth. Go follow him, buddy.
No, I'm just trying to see because everybody say Mel Kiper's the guru.
No, stop it, Mel. I'll tell you what Mel does.
I'm just telling you what the people say, as they say. The sources say. I'm just telling you what the people say. Don't get mad at me.
You just said it. Sources.
Hey, I'm not going to tell you my sources. I'm just saying. Hey, like you say, social media shows everything, man. Come on, man.
Screw social media. I can't stand social media.
We trust Austin and Shane much more than we trust Mel Kiper.
That's true. No question. I'll tell you this. Austin Gayle knows more than Mel Kiper does. Mel Kiper's always wrong. The guy doesn't know nothing.
Plus, he was supposed to retire 10 years ago when he thought Jimmy Clausen was going to be a good NFL quarterback.
I don't know how ESPN still has him on the roster. They fire everybody else. They keep Mel Kiper. You know what? We're going to hire this, I don't know. I think he has Alzheimer's. I mean, he has something because every time he goes up there, he mentioned something. I remember last year he was up there. He was talking about a player, and that was the year before. He was talking about a player that was drafted the year before, and I'm like, wait a second. He was drafted in 2022.
So he pulled off a Kenny, and then and he stole his job.
I was like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, oops. So he messed up a name. And that's the thing that Mel Kiper does every single year. He's wrong, and listen, if you want to follow Mel Kiper because he's a name, then you find him. If you want to follow Austin Gayle or Shane Hallam, both the guys are names. They know what they're talking about. Then you go, you ask him. So that's not a good question. I'm going to ask another question. And by the way, we are talking to Spotify and the Ringer audience engagement manager, Austin Gayle. Austin, the New York Jets drafting at 10. I've been hearing Brock Bowers. I've been hearing, hey, they'll trade down because Joe Douglas came out and said, Rich Cimini came out and said, the Jets want to trade out of that spot. And then there were stories coming out, hey, the Jets might trade up at 5 to go after Marvin Harrison Jr. Where do you think the Jets go?
I'd be surprised if they double down that hard. And they have so much resources already committed to this season, bringing in Mike Williams, who obviously has had his injury concerns. You have Tyron Smith, who hasn't played a full season in the NFL in any of the last 5 years. Morgan Moses is 33 years young. Aaron Rodgers coming off an ACL. Breece Hall has had an ACL. It's a team that is very injury prone, playing on turf that continues to hurt players. I think that they remind me of that experiment when you were kids where you had to take a raw egg and wrap it with as much duct tape as possible and drop it from the second floor. And you just have to hope it doesn't break. Mike Williams is a little bit of tape. Morgan Moses is some tape. Tyron Smith, you add a couple pieces there. They're just going to let this thing go. It's 1 year only. My opinion, does that mean they could try and trade up and go get Marvin Harrison Jr.? Sure, but they'd have to mortgage future draft capital to do that. I think they want to stay put at 10 and either take an offensive lineman to help with depth and obviously add youth to that offensive line. It's a very older offensive line, especially on the bookends with Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. Or the name that we keep hearing is Brock Bowers, right? And I think a lot of teams have been spurned by taking a tight end in the top 50. Over the last 10 years, only 3 tight ends have signed second contract with the teams that drafted them as top 50 picks at tight end. That's Cole Kmet, that's David Njoku, and one other tight end of these last 10 years. To me, Brock Bowers is different. But Hawkinson, to me, Brock Bowers is different. But we say that every year. We say that about Kyle Pitts. We say that about all these guys. I worry that taking Brock Bowers maybe isn't the value play, but throw value out the window when you're just trying to win this year, right? I mean, we are after this year, the Aaron Rodgers, if it works, Saleh is going to stay put. Douglas is going to stay put, all that. If the egg doesn't break at the bottom of the stairs, it's going to be fine. If it does, this whole thing's getting blown up. Mike Williams is gone. The offensive linemen are gone. Aaron Rodgers is gone. Everything gets moved on. So I do really feel that they stay put. They try and add to the offense. They really try and push hard and making Aaron Rodgers and putting him in the best position to succeed, all in hopes that this 1 year they go deep in the postseason. Will it happen? Hard to say. You have to hope for the best in the end, though.
Last question for me. One prospect that people are high on that you're lower on, and the reverse, your sleeper.
Okay. I am a little bit lower on Keon Coleman than I think people are. I think Keon Coleman, the Florida State receiver, where I worry is not even about the time speed. 4.640. It's similar to what Allen Robinson run, and he obviously had a successful career for a long time in the league. Where I worry is that a lot of his success came in contested catch situations, and something that the data tells us over and over and over again, that contested catch success at the college level is not uber predictive for being in the league. You have to get open, right? Getting open is how you win in the NFL. And I just don't know if we saw that from Keon Coleman. Would I take him in the second round? Absolutely. But some of these mock drafts that put him in the back end of the first, I'm just not, that's just a little too much. In terms of a sleeper, I really do think Byron Murphy is getting slept on because it's a bad defensive tackle class, and he's getting pushed down in like later and later in mocks, and people are looking at Adisa Isaac, the Penn State edge, like these other edge defenders to look for pass rush. I think Byron Murphy's a really good player, and in a class where there are a lot of really good defensive tackles, investing in one as it becomes a more premium position. We saw this year how many defensive tackles got paid all that money. Investing in one in a scarce draft class actually makes a lot of sense to me. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a top 20 pick.
My last question for you, you look at this whole draft, and there's quite a few players, and everybody keeps saying this is more of an offensive draft than it is a defensive draft. And some of these great defensive players could be drafted in the second and third round, and you could get a steal in the second and third round because everybody keeps talking about the wide receivers and the quarterbacks and the offensive linemen. If you look at this draft and you're drafting in the third or fourth round, and who do you think is going to fall? One, and who do you think is going to be a great value pick in the third and fourth round?
It's a good question. Trying to think about some of these gems that I am excited by. TJ Tampa. I think this cornerback class is interesting because no one knows who the best cornerback in this class is. Some people will say Terrion Arnold, the Alabama corner. Some will say the other Alabama corner, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Some will say Nate Wiggins of Clemson. There's a lot of guys. See Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. There's a lot of guys that people are like, this could be the CB1. And because there are such mixed opinions, I do think a lot of those guys end up falling. So you get into the second and third round, there's going to be opportunities at corner. You think about the nickel cornerback class as well. I really like Mike Sanders still out of Michigan. That's a guy that you're getting a starter in the second or third round. No, he's not this elite athlete that could ever translate into being a legitimate outside corner, but nickel cornerbacks start in the NFL right now. You know, it's no longer a 4-3-3-4. That's 7 players up front. It's now 6. Right now you're playing with 2 linebackers rather than 3 linebackers. And I do think that getting a starting slot corner on day 2, day 3 with this nickel class, I think is exciting. And also this cornerback class overall. There's going to be some names that fall to day 2.
Austin, we love what you're doing right now and keep up the good work. We'd like to get you on where we don't have to wait 2-3 years to get you on the show. I think it's crazy how long we've waited to get you on the show, but a lot of transition. I know you're doing some great work with Spotify, and keep up the good work. We'd love to get you on draft day. We're going to have a draft show. I don't know what you're going to be doing. I don't know if you're going to the draft. You might be. But if you're not, we'd love for you to sneak in and give us your opinion of the top 10, top 15, if you could. But keep up the good work, bud. You're doing fantastic work right now.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. Absolutely.
I don't know if anybody knows, but Spotify has this great show called The Ringer. It's fantastic. And he's got a big draw. Him and his team, they're fantastic. They're great. And we love Austin. And Sean made a mistake, he didn't know Austin to Shane, but now he knows. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we haven't spoken to this guy for a very long time as well. This guy is one of the best in the business. There's no doubt about it. And we will be talking to him. We will be talking to Draft Countdown managing partner, Shane Hallam, here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Daryl Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, and ex-NFL player Sean Smith, who's driving, going, I guess, to his girls' practice right now. But we love what we love the craziness of Sean Smith. There's no question. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listing is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And yes, thank you to our first guest, Austin Gayle. Fantastic. Go check out his show, The Ringer. It's great content and has a huge following all over Spotify. So, and congratulations to him. We haven't spoken to him for a while. He's doing great things right now on Spotify. And now this guy, the last time we had him, he was working for Pro Football Focus, if I'm not mistaken, right? Am I right, Speedy?
I don't think Shane. You don't think you were ever with Pro Football.
What was he working for?
Look, you had me on last year at the exact same time for the draft.
So what
I
was
come
he
on
working
every year.
What was he working?
Was it Devi? What was it? Devi Watch, I think was the name of it, Shane? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I wear a lot of hats. I've been with Draft Count. That was my third year managing it, but also, Dynasty League football, a couple other places too. So, I'm excited to be back. I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely, it's a year. I mean, come on, man. Shane, we love having you on. You're a guru when it comes to this. And by the way, he obviously now works for Draft Countdown, and he's a manager and partner with, obviously the organization, Shane Hallam. If you don't check him out on social media, well, then you obviously don't know anything about the draft. This guy is a great follow. He studies the draft, not even from the up and coming drafts. You're speaking about 2, 3, 4, 5 years into the drafts where he's predicting where these players are going to go. What are they, first round? Are they second or third round draft picks? And then kind of, estimating where they're going to go in the draft. So, Shane, it's been a year. We haven't spoken to you. And there's a lot to get into. We kind of got into it with Austin Gayle. And now that this season is over, we're here in New York. And I want to go to this New York team because we haven't spoken about this New York team. And people forget, some people say this is the only New York team, and that's the Buffalo Bills, okay? Stefon Diggs gets traded, and he heads over there to the Texans, who looks like are only going to have him for a year because they restructured his deal. Where do they go in the draft? Do they move up for wide receiver? Because Josh Allen is going to need another wide receiver in that offense. They lost a lot this offseason, especially their secondary. They have nothing in the secondary. I mean, they practically restructured their secondary. They're all young now, or bringing maybe 1 or 2 veterans in. Where does Buffalo go in this year's draft?
I think wide receiver has to be priority number 1 for them. What really do you have in the cupboard? You sign Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir's there. Obviously, have the tight ends. We're going to see Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox a lot, but you need a wide receiver 1. I don't know if they necessarily need to move up. It depends who their target is. I think if they want to go with a high upside, high floor player like Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU, he's probably going to be off the board. The 4.33 speed at 6'2", 210. I think they could sit there and probably take one of the 2 Texas wide receivers. One should be available. I think Adonai Mitchell, I don't personally love, but at 6'2", 205, running a 4.34, he's a 99.9 percentile athlete. Only Calvin Johnson was more athletic than Adonai Mitchell in terms of workouts of every receiver since 1987 for the NFL draft. So that's impressive. You can kind of coach him up. He could certainly be a wide receiver 1. I think if they take Xavier Worthy, who obviously broke the 40-yard dash record, you're looking at a player that's more so going to be kind of like Hollywood Brown. You're going to try to get him in space, and that might be what they want. They might. Do we need a wide receiver 1? Some of their best games were when Stefon Diggs didn't do anything. I think that's maybe they're seeing, hey, we can use the tight ends. We can use the running back, James Cook, breaking out a little bit. We can use the slot with Shakir. And we don't, if we get Worthy, we can use a player that's versatile. We don't need that traditional X receiver anymore.
So I was looking at your the draft you posted 2 days ago, the 7-round mock, and you actually are lower on both Roman Wilson and Troy Franklin, who a lot of people say is late first, early second round picks. What are the reasoning behind that?
I love Troy Franklin. He's my 6th ranked receiver. I just don't think he's going to go as high as I would take him. It's kind of the difference, my rankings versus the mock draft, right? The mock drafts I'm kind of predicting versus what I would do. I think Franklin, just because he has that thinner body, at 176 pounds, and was more of a deep threat at Oregon and didn't really get the chance to showcase more. I think he can do more, but it's a projection. Now, I think maybe I did have him a little bit late, but I think late second into the third round is probably where he settles ultimately. So, and Roman Wilson, another player I like, but he just didn't have the production. We hear it with the entire Michigan passing game. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy gets that label, but they didn't have to throw. So Roman Wilson, great year. I think he's a great player. He's not a wide receiver 1 for a team. He's a wide receiver 2. He's kind of a gadget guy that we can do some different things with. Those players tend to fall a little bit more than the consensus mock drafts have them.
Now, obviously, everybody knows we're talking to Draft Countdown managing partner Shane Hallam, a friend of the show. Guy knows he's as good as it gets. I know everybody keeps talking about Mel Kiper and all these other guys. Overrated. This guy, he studies the game. This is what he gets paid for when it comes to the draft, and he kind of estimates where these guys are going to go. J.J. McCarthy is a big name, and I see that you have him going to Denver. And I know the Giants were very intrigued, and we've heard Jim Harbaugh come out and say that this guy is like just like Dabo Sweeney came out and said that about who the quarterback that's playing playing for the Browns, who got a guaranteed money about what was it, a year and a half ago, who barely is playing right now, Mr. Watson, who likes to get hand jobs in the back room. But nevertheless, J.J. McCarthy is a big name right now, and some people say he's moving up in the draft board. Some people think he could be drafted in the top 10. Teams might move up to get him and snag him. Why is everybody estimating this kid, who some people thought was in maybe a late first round, early second round draft pick, jumping all the way to the teens and maybe in the top 10? Why is this? And why do you think he goes to Denver?
We do this every year, right?
Yeah.
We do this every single year. Will Levis last year, he's going to be a top 4. The Colts might take him at 4. He doesn't even go in the first round. We did it with Malik Willis and Matt Corral as potential first round picks. We did it with Kyle Trask. I remember getting mocked in the first round. He's going to go high. Mac Jones is going to go in 3rd overall. We went 15. We do this every single year. I could pull out, I've been doing this since 2004. I could pull out name after name after name because the quarterback's the most important position. So every team that needs one is just going to take one. That's not how it works. The guy has to be good. I think J.J. McCarthy, went back to his film a couple weeks ago and rose him up my rankings a bit. I still think he's kind of a late first round talent. Now, could that get pushed up into 11 Minnesota, 12 Denver? That's where that makes sense to me. I don't think the Giants are moving up to 4 to take J.J. McCarthy. That's just stupid. I don't think the Vikings are going to give up 2 first-round picks to move to 4 when they have 23. I mean, they could sit there and say, okay, everyone's gone. Maybe we could take Bo Nix. We could take Michael Penix much later in the first or even in the second. We just do this every year where we think every team that needs a quarterback is just going to take the next guy. And that's not how it works. There's 3 quarterbacks in this class who have elite potential. And J.J. McCarthy is not one of those 3. He's probably going to go relatively high because he has a good skill set, but it wasn't his fault. That he didn't throw a ton and he didn't need to. They won every game, but that's still something you want to see more of. I would like to have a higher volume of him in tough situations and scenarios. We just didn't get to see that. I think he could be a good player, but I think we just do this every year and think every quarterback's going in the top 10. We haven't had 4 quarterbacks go in the top 9 in the modern NFL era. We've never had it happen in the top 9. It's probably not happening this year. That's how it goes. It's probably not happening this year. So I'm going to take that to the bank, and I'll die with the ship if it does.
So one of the other prospects that's been polarizing has been Brock Bowers. You draft the tight end early, and he's a top 10 athletic grade or top 10 pick projection wise, top 3 athletic grade, stuff like that. And I think you had him mocked to his New York Jets at number 10.
Come on, why would you do that to me, Shane?
So what are your thoughts on where he could go, and would you draft him there if you were certain teams?
Well, look, I would draft him there. I mean, I think Brock Bowers is my 7th ranked player in the entire draft because I think he's going to be what we wanted Kyle Pitts to be, right? What Kyle Pitts was not for the Atlanta Falcons. What Brock Bowers brings to the table is he's not just a receiver. He's not just, the typical tight end that you're bringing out. He was running for touchdowns in the SEC. They're using him on jet sweeps. They're using him in different ways, tight end screens, something we really haven't had an athletic tight end who understands spacing of defense, rushing angles, things that tight ends don't do at any level. Brock Bowers knows his football IQ is off the charts. So I personally think that Brock Bowers is the third best weapon in this draft behind Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors. I would even consider him over Rome Odunze. I don't think he'll go over Rome Odunze. I think the Jets would take Odunze over Bowers. But, this type of weapon, we saw it with Sam Laporta. When you have the athleticism and you have the high football IQ, you can perform as a rookie at that tight end spot. I think Brock Bowers is that type of player.
And I know Speedy brought up my Jets because I'm sitting here today and wondering, hey, how's the Jets going to screw this up? I mean, they'll draft Brock Bowers. And again, I've said this over and over and over again, that we, in the last, I would say, decade, every single tight end that was drafted in the top 15 has not worked out. Okay, let's just go through them. And I don't want to hear Njoku. And Njoku is up and down every single year. He's not a good tight end. Travis Kelce, what was he drafted in the second round? I mean, you go and look at George Kittle. Where was he drafted?
Like fifth round.
The fifth or fourth round. I mean, come on. If you go up and down, even some of these other teams that have decent, tight end wide receivers.
Yeah, Mark Andrews, I think, was third round.
Yeah, I mean, they're usually drafted in the later rounds. So I am not too excited when I hear Brock Bowers. That's just me. I know you're doing what you do best, and your knowledge is people say that you're a king when it comes to your knowledge. I just hope you're wrong on that one, but that's just me. You look at this draft, and some people say that this is an offensive draft. I said this, obviously, to our last guest, Austin Gayle, and a lot of these, the best defensive player comes from Alabama. And now everybody keeps saying Alabama has the best defensive player in this class, and that's the linebacker in Turner, who everybody likes, but some people say could fall out of the top 10, which is crazy when you're hearing the type of talent he is. They say that he's like a CJ Mosley prototype player. What do you think of Turner, and why do you believe Turner's falling out of the top 10 as much as he has in a lot of people's draft boards?
I like Turner. I don't love Turner as a top 10 pick. And I think what you said about this being an offensive draft is very accurate. I think the best 10 players in this draft probably come from the offensive side. I might throw a corner in there that I really like, but I think that's a possibility. Turner is not Will Anderson. He is not, that wasn't this dominant pass rush type outside backer that you can plug in and, like you said, kind of do a little bit of everything, play inside, play outside, rush the passer. And that's why you draft a player in the top 10 to get to the quarterback. And I think Turner has the skill set to do it, just was very inconsistent. Now, there are some games where he takes over against weaker competition, and then when he played against a better offensive line or an offense that schemed around him, he seemed to disappear. And to me, that's worrisome when you get to the NFL level. Now, I think he certainly could be coached up, and if he improves with the speed and athleticism that he has, he could be phenomenal. But I think he's going to be one of those players. Hey, it depends on the situation, where he goes, fit, coaching. That's going to be the determining factor. So I think that's the reason here is, he has such upside, but there's also some downside to him too. And when you have elite quarterbacks, you have top wide receivers, you have really good offensive tackle class, I think it's hard to pull that trigger on an edge rusher that you're just not sold on as being a franchise player from the get-go.
So where do you have him coming out of the draft? I didn't see where you had him drafted.
So I know a lot of people have him going to the Falcons at 8. I have him going 9th to the Chicago Bears, where, a lot of people have a receiver to the Bears, but I think they're going to look to the defensive side and look to that edge rusher. So kind of flirting in that, 10 area. I think 12, Denver is probably Turner's floor ultimately. So I think at 8 to 12 range is probably where he ends up. He's actually my number 2. He's not even my top edge rusher in the draft. I like Laitu Latu from UCLA, who's probably going to go much later in the first round, probably even later than I had him in my recent mock draft. but I think he's the most productive. He has this killer cross chop, and no one could stop him. Even if Latu's a little bit lighter in the pants, he can get moved around a little bit, but he is so tough and so knowledgeable. That first step is electric. Like, he always finds a way to produce. I'll take that guy over the athletic marvel any day.
Yeah, you mentioned a corner in the top 10, and actually, again, going back to your other draft, you actually are high on Quinion Mitchell. You had him going at number 8 to Atlanta too. Like, why do you think he's better than a lot of these other bigger name school corners? And if you were Atlanta, what would you go do? Because they're an ultimate wild card.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I was them, I would take Quinion Mitchell, the corner out of Toledo. His one knock is he went to Toledo. Like, that's the one problem, right? Is he was in the MAC. But he's over 6 feet tall. He's 195 pounds. He ran a 4.33, literally shut down every receiver that I've seen him face, including, last year when he went up against Ohio State, when he went up against, he gave Harrison a run for his money. Like, Quinion Mitchell is physical at the line of scrimmage, and then he has this makeup speed. If he does make a mistake, he's right back there with the receiver every time. They stopped throwing at him. Yeah, they stopped throwing at him in the MAC, because, like, why would you even try? And when they didn't, he punished them. I think he is going to be. I think he's going to be phenomenal. And we've seen a lot of corners come from smaller schools and have success, because it's a hard thing to recruit out of high school and really know what a player is. Quinion Mitchell, I think, has the most consistent film of any corner in this draft.
As everybody knows, we are talking to Draft Countdown managing partner Shane Hallam. Now, Shane, Seattle, there has been talks that Seattle is very interested in Michael Penix. It's a name that we've heard. And by the way, a quarterback that some people think is going to fall out of the first round and go to the second round. Now, some people believe that Seattle might, at number 16, draft Penix because of the offensive coordinator that they brought in. He knows Mr. Penix very, very well. What are your thoughts? Now, obviously, you don't have Penix going in the first round. I don't think you have him. You have him, I think, going in the second round, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So why does people believe that Penix could still be a first-round draft pick? Some people compare his skills to Lamar Jackson. What are your thoughts to his skills, and why do you think he's a second-round draft pick?
Well, I think if someone compares him to Lamar Jackson, first, stop listening to that person.
Okay, that could be like 3 or 4 people that I'm listening to.
Yeah, look, get rid of Lamar Jackson did not have 8 have 8 rushing yards in college. That's what Michael Penix had this past season, was 8 rushing yards, right? He had the combine where he ran a 4.5. He hasn't used it. He's had 2 major knee surgeries. NFL teams are going to be weary of that, the medical issue. He wasn't good early in his career at Indiana, went into this wide open offense that we're going to see Seattle run. And he has a great arm. I think he's one of the best passers in this draft, better than, maybe even Caleb Williams. But the problem is Michael Penix under pressure when he's trying to throw. We saw it in the national championship against Michigan. He wilts like a flower. He can't do it. He doesn't know how to navigate the pocket. He doesn't trust his knees. He even when there's a giant rushing lane, he runs a 4.5. He won't run, and he won't take off. He won't go outside to buy himself more time. NFL teams in today's era, that's just not good enough. Now, Seattle is implementing the same offense he played. Maybe they could be interested in him. But a lot of times we made those connections of a college coach going to the NFL. They're going to draft their guy, and they don't. They draft someone else. Right now, you get your choice of anybody, and a lot of times it doesn't happen. So I never rule out anything in the NFL draft. I'll never say 0% chance, but I would guess he goes to the second. Maybe Seattle, moves up, pulls that trigger in the second round. That could happen.
I will say this, and the reason why I think people are comparing his skill to Lamar Jackson is because they're both lefties. I think that's what it is, right?
No, Tua is lefty, not Lamar.
Lamar Jackson's. Yeah. I'm sorry. So Lamar, then maybe it is Tua. But I think that when you look at Lamar and what Lamar has done over the last couple of years, and he doesn't win the big game. Okay, we all know that he hasn't won the big game, and until Lamar does that, I don't know. He can win 4 or 5 MVPs. It's not going to make a difference. So it's all about championships in the NFL. And again, I like Michael Penix. Yes, I think he didn't play very well in the national championship, and I thought some people think if he won that game, he's a first round draft pick. Being that he didn't play very well, he's fallen out of the first round, and some people say he could even fall to the third round, which is crazy. And if he does, he might be a great, good take in the third round for a lot of teams. But I agree with you. I don't know why people compare him to Lamar Jackson, but I've heard like 4 or 5 people compare his skill and his ability to move inside and out of pocket. Now, again, I didn't even know he had 8 yards run all season long. I did not know that. I didn't look at his statistics. I guess Speedy would know that. But when I did watch him, I thought he had a great arm, and he saw the field as good as any quarterback in all of the nation. I would agree with you. As soon as the pressure came from Michigan, I think he waddled and he windled early in the game, and you saw the difference in what he did in that playoff game to the national championship.
Yeah, look, I think it's fair. I think he's a good player and a good passer, and if a team covets that, certainly he could go in the first round still. He's also going to have 3 of his receivers go in the top 100, as well as 2 of his offensive linemen. So it's always something to step back and say, okay, who's the real talent here? You have to evaluate that too.
So my last question for you, since the last time we've had you on the show, the Steelers have made a lot of interesting quarterback moves, and now they've made 2 of them this offseason, Russell Wilson and then trading for Justin Fields. So what are your thoughts on both
Be
of those
honest
moves?
with this one. Be honest, because we had a couple of people on that loves the whole Russell Wilson thing, which I think they're absolutely out of their damn minds, but I love the Justin Fields thing. So what are your thoughts to those moves and why?
Look, I'm born, raised, living in Pittsburgh. I'm just glad they did something. Like, my fear was that we're going to go Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph again, right? So, you could almost give me anything. I'd have been like, it's better than that. I think Russell Wilson's fine to take a shot on. They're paying him nothing, right? So, if he stinks, getting Justin Fields was the key. Where you can bench Russell Wilson in a second if you need to, and you can bring Fields in. Or my hope is that they take Fields, sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal that's kind of cheaper, or even go the Green Bay Packers route, the Jordan Love route, and don't take the 5th year option, but sign him to a 1 year deal, an extension that's a little bit cheaper than the tag would be, and give you some time to develop him. And if neither work out, if both stink, then you're back where you were before, and that's fine. So I don't mind the move. It was cheap, and I'm a Fields fan. I loved him as a prospect. He's one of my top 10 quarterbacks I've evaluated in the NFL draft ever since 2004, since I started this. So I hope he works out.
I love Justin Fields too, and I wish nothing but the best for him. I think Russell Wilson is a head case, a nut case.
He is weirdo. I'll say he's a weird guy. So
he's a weird person. I've never interviewed him yet, and if I ever did, and I will eventually get a chance to interview Russell Wilson. I just think there's a lot of things a lot of teammates have said in the past about him that kind of, if I was a Pittsburgh Steeler, I would be worried about it. He has ruined locker rooms. He's turned locker rooms against one another just because of his personality and who he thinks he is. He takes a lot of credit for those championship teams of Seattle, where they went to 2 Super Bowls and choked in one of them. And he didn't even take responsibility on that throw. I don't know if anybody remembers when he's interviewed for that, and he mentioned the Pete Carroll thing. He says, well, Pete told me on the sidelines, we're throwing the ball. We weren't even thinking run. Okay, why would you do that? You're protecting your coach. You don't throw teammates under the bus. You don't throw your coaches under the bus. You take responsibility for your mistake. As we all know, Zach Wilson doesn't do, and as he ran himself out of New York very quickly after that. It doesn't work like that. And you have to take responsibility, not marry Ciara and sit there and say, well, I'm married to a beautiful singer, R&B singer, and I'm making millions and millions of dollars, and go F yourself. And that's what Russell Wilson does. I don't respect a man like that. And hopefully he works over there in Pittsburgh. I think the whole point here is I think Justin Fields should win the job. I love the kid. I think he was wrong by Chicago. I want Chicago to pay for what they did. Okay. I think if you hear DJ Moore come out and say what he said about him, and every single player saying that we can win with this kid, give this kid a chance, we have a chance to be something special. And then all of a sudden give him away for a 6th round draft pick. I think it's outrageously crazy. So, but that's just me. All right. And Shane, my last question for you. Obviously you've predicted a lot of drafts. Okay. A lot of them. And you've been right on a lot of picks. Caleb Williams. Okay. Now I've been talking about Caleb Williams for 2 years. And I've said it over and over again. How many guys? We had somebody on last year. I forget his name. He came out and told me Caleb Williams is not going to be the number 1 pick in any draft. He's not good enough. He's overrated and all this other stuff.
Oh, I think that was Carl Reed when we had him on.
Whatever. Okay. And I sat there and say, you're outrageously crazy. The guy's going to be a number 1 pick. I don't care how bad he is. In the next year and a half, the guy's going 1. What type of player is the Chicago Bears getting? Do you think he's a must-hit, talented top player in this draft class, and why?
Yes. Like it's a no-brainer. He is. I've had him mocked a number 1 overall since he was senior in high school. So I that hasn't changed. He was the best recruit coming out in that class as a true freshman, took over for Spencer Rattler, who's also going to get drafted in the top 100. And for right or wrong, took over and, he carried that Oklahoma team to a Big 12 championship that they should not have gotten even to that game. His skill set is right there in terms of pre-snap read, post-snap read, recognition, understanding how the route tree goes, knowing what the defense is doing on every level, understanding his blocking scheme. He was carrying one of the worst defenses in FBS, let alone the Power 5 last year. And I think, he knows how to move in the pocket, but he's a throw-first quarterback. He's not one of these run-first guys like Jaden Daniels was. The fact that he was beating up on defenses at 18 years old always to me is like, hey, that's a pretty good indication this guy can play and continue to improve through that. I think you're getting a great player. Now, look, situation matters a ton. I think the Bears have actually set him up much better than they set up Justin Fields in a really good way to succeed, getting Keenan Allen and bring back Cole Kmet, doing all of that. So I think he's in a chance to succeed. I don't think he's going to be a bust, right? I think at worst you're getting what Jacksonville's getting with Trevor Lawrence, a player that has upside, that can win, maybe isn't hitting the ceiling that you thought, but Caleb Williams is a top 3 quarterback that I've ever scouted in the NFL draft, and I'll stick by that.
I would say that he likes to cry. So he's the king of crying. So we have to give him credit for that.
I don't know. You complain about Spencer Rattler crying too.
Well, you call me the king of wishful thinking. So he's the king of crying. He likes to cry. I mean, you can't shame him on, being a man that likes to cry. I just hope he doesn't do that in the NFL, locker room. The people are going to probably really pounce on him if he does that. But I love Caleb Williams too.
And Arrow will probably cry if Spencer Rattler gets drafted by the Jets.
Oh, if Spencer Rattler gets drafted by the New York Jets, I'm not a Jet fan anymore.
I hate to cut you guys off. I got to run. I got my podcast
all right, man.
starting
Good
now,
luck.
so I appreciate it.
You soon, bro.
I'm a little sad Sean didn't come on to call me out. I was waiting for it. So maybe next time.
Yeah, we'll send him a Twinkie or something.
Yeah. We'll see you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Shane. Shane Hallam, fantastic, great as always.
Next time we get Shane, we're gonna have to get his draft evaluation of Sean. what it was at the time, because he said he drafted since 2004, and I think Sean, you were drafted after that. I don't know if you can hear us now, but he's still in the feed. But we have to get his draft evaluation was on
feeds.
Sean.
He's the only person that naturally has 2 feeds every single time he's on this show. I don't know. Maybe once he's in his house and once he's in his car. So he can bounce from one to the other. He's the only person. I listen.
We need to change draft evaluation of the one Sean, what it was at the time.
I think he's hilarious. I think Sean is out of his damn mind. By the way, did you hear that story about Harnstein? He was on the Jalen Brunson show. What's that show called? I think it's Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. They do a show. They do a podcast. Something. I forget what it's called, but they do a show, and Harnstein was on the show, and they were speaking about, that white men can't jump or some crap, and he says, "Well, I'm not white." He says,
roommates, Fish said.
Roommates, yeah. There you go. So He says, I'm not white, I'm half black. And he says, he's like, how you half black? He says, my dad's black. I love Isaiah Hartenstein. I really do. I love his personality. Those guys, all right. By the way, that podcast is fantastic. I don't know if anybody hasn't checked it. Now, I'm bad with names, and that's why I didn't remember the name of the podcast. But if you haven't checked out Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart's podcast, guys, go check it out. It is fantastic. They are funny guys. They have ex-teammates on the show. They have ex-college mates on this show, and they really give good content. They're just hanging out with them, talking about crazy, not even basketball. They're just speaking about sandwiches and food that they like to eat and where they like to hang out, what type of girls they like to chill with. I mean, they're out of their minds. And Jalen Brunson seems like he's the normal, down-to-earth guy. And then you have Josh Hart, who's out of his damn friggin' mind. I mean, everybody says I'm crazy. I would love to go on their show and hang out with both of them and just shoot the crap with both of them, because those guys are just like, they're men's men. That's what they are. They just have those personalities that drive you. And Isaiah Hartenstein was on their show, and they were asking him silly questions, and then they speak about, he's one of very few white guys on the team, and he said, and then he started saying like white men can't jump and all this other stuff, and I'll never. And Isaiah Hartenstein says, "Wait a second, I'm half black." And Josh said something funny. I forget what he said, and and Isaiah says, "Well, I'm half black. My father's black." And Josh says, "I didn't know your father's half black." He says, "You want me to show you pictures?" And he posted it up on social media on Twitter. It's actually pretty funny.
On a side note, unfortunately, Sean was drafted in 2003, so that was a year before Shane started.
So he probably didn't have the draft.
What could have been?
I love the chemistry. And by the way, shout out to Keith Rooney. I love the chemistry by the New York Knicks. And that goes to this, because this was a story that I didn't want to get into, but I'm going to get into. Vegas is going to the top 5 players that are MVP candidates right now for the NBA. Okay. And what bothers me, and this has been going on for a long time, when we've had good Knick players after good Knick players, Carmelo Anthony, when he wins the scoring title, the year that he won the scoring title, he wasn't even looked at as a top 3 candidate for an MVP.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is the problem. And I understand there's a lot of hatred for the New York Knicks. I don't understand why. And I don't, everybody keeps saying the Mecca of basketball is New York. It hasn't been the Mecca of basketball for a very long time. All right. New York Knicks basketball hasn't been something to watch for a very long time. Now, as a Knicks fan, this is the best team I've seen in about, I would say, 20 years. This is a good team. This is a fun team to watch. And one of the main reasons why this team is a fun team to watch is the Knicks got lucky. And you're going to ask me, why did they get lucky? What did they do that they got so lucky? Because Leon Rose decided 2 years ago, almost 3, to sign an undersized point guard, a second-round draft pick that won 2 national championships out of Villanova. And he was the best player on those Villanova teams. No question that he was. And that was Jalen Brunson. And every single writer that came on this show attacked what the New York Knicks did. Why would you pay an undersized point guard who had one good season in Dallas that helped Luka Doncic get into the Western Conference Finals, and he really wasn't the reason why they were there, which was a lie.
Yeah.
Okay, because have they been back there since he's been gone? Absolutely not.
They haven't made the playoffs. They will this year, but they didn't even make the playoffs last year.
How does a player that every single writer took shots at, every single one of them, he's been on how many? Jimmy Fallon's show. He's been on Jimmy Kimball's show. And they all ask him questions. They made jokes about it. If I was Jalen Brunson, I would be giving everybody the middle finger right now. Because right now, He's the first Knick. There's only 3 Knicks in a season that had 10 games over 40 points in New York Knicks history. 10. 10 40 game, 10 40-point games this past season. This season. And there's only 2 Knicks that have ever done that. He's passed Carmelo Anthony only had 8 one season. This is a guy that for years everybody questioned should even be in the NBA. Okay? And now he's one of the top 4 offensive players in the NBA right now. Top 4. He's scoring. He's the 4th leading scorer in the NBA. 4th. The guy that everybody decided to throw bones to the New York Knicks that they were complete morons. Now the Knicks are winning. They're one of the best teams in the East. They could be a 3rd or a 2nd seed, and nobody's giving this guy a bone that he's an MVP candidate. Are you kidding me? Have you lost your damn minds? Has Vegas lost their damn minds?
Maybe Austin Krell paid them off.
Joel Embiid, who was crying that he was the best big man for the last 3 years, finally wins his MVP, and by the way, chokes in the playoff once again. And this guy has been nothing but a good Samaritan, laughs about what people say about him, jokes about it. His father's one of the coaches on the bench. He's been picked on about his size, that he can't cut it in the NBA, and that him going to his hometown team, the team that he grew up rooting for, and the Knicks made a bad choice bringing him in when they could have went after Kyrie Irving or any one of these guys in the last past years and choked on it, or decide to give up and not do that, which, by the way, they've made the best decisions, not bringing in Kyrie Irving. Now, this guy is a superstar in his league. And I didn't say, and just stop it, Jeff. I never said he's better than Michael Jordan. I'm not saying this. This guy deserves more than just accolades from all those writers that pretty much picked on him. This guy deserves all the credit of the Knicks' success. Because Josh Hart wouldn't be this Josh Hart without Jalen Brunson. Dante DiVincenzo wouldn't be Dante DiVincenzo if it wasn't for Jalen Brunson. Okay? This team is different because the Knicks finally have a pure, real, in his prime, superstar here in New York that wants to be here. And that is taking and putting the team on his shoulders. And shame on Vegas not putting him in the top 5 right now, MVP. He's not even getting number 1. He's not even getting first ballot votes. It doesn't make sense. He's arguably a top 3 point guard in the league, maybe top 2 point guard right now in the NBA. And nobody's giving. But it was Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah.
Or if it was in his prime Russell Westbrook or James Harden, it would be different. How does this make sense? Why does this make sense? It irks me. I'm so, Jeff, stop. If you got nothing good to say, get out of the feed. You're an idiot. It is true. It is wrong. And it really disrespects what the Knicks and what he has done for this organization for the last 2 seasons. That's all I'm going to say about that. Said. That's it. I'm tired of it. And shout out to Josh Silverberg because he's absolutely right. We were speaking about this today, and I'm completely disgusted with Vegas. And really, I don't really care about what they think. Now, for all the Celtic fans that think Jason Tatum, okay, is an MVP candidate and crying that he hasn't won an MVP and that he should be an MVP candidate this year, Jason Tatum, if you look at his numbers, Jason Tatum's not that far much better than Jalen Brunson. And Jason Tatum's in the top 5. How is Jason Tatum a top 5 player and MVP candidate right now when he is playing on a team that has, I don't know, one of the best defensive players in all of basketball, just got a 4-year deal today from the Boston Celtics. okay, and Drew Holiday, who won a championship, okay? You have Jalen Brown, who's one of the best two-way players in the NBA. And you have Kristaps, the poor Porzingis, who likes to open his mouth and wants to be a part owner of a team when, he's playing for a New York team, which we all know. So, and now wants to apologize after the whole thing. So I think it's despicable. I think it's wrong. And I just think, unfortunately, I don't think it bothers Jalen Brunson because he just wants to bring a ring home. He wants to win a championship here in New York and be the reason why that happened. And I give him a lot of credit because when he was on the Jimmy Fallon show, I think it was, and Jimmy Fallon pulled out like all these cards and what people wrote about him and all that other stuff. He giggled. He didn't throw anybody under the bus. He didn't mention any names. That shows you the type of man that he is and the gracious person that he is when it comes to being contradicted about his size and his ability playing in the NBA. And that says a lot about who he is as a person, as a man, and I respect him for that. So Jalen Brunson, who's had a sensational year, he's become a superstar for the New York Knicks, and he's been everything for the Knicks. And, if he was playing for the Celtics, I mean, this guy would be, this guy, Jeff, would be jumping on his back and riding like Zorro. That's what he'd be doing. But, because he's on the Knicks, and there it goes, the Celtics are the worst and their fans are racist. You're absolutely right, by the way. They are racist. I don't know about they're the worst, but they are a racist organization. So there's no question to that. So
Jalen Brunson should run for president.
he should. He should. Absolutely. I'm just speaking the truth. That's just my opinion. A to Z Sports reports that the Colts are aggressively trying to move up to draft Brock Bowers. The trade would likely be with a team later than the top 10, which are the Falcons, the Bears, and the Jets. The Bears and the Jets have both expressed interest in Bowers during the pre-draft process. The Jets have already been interested in trading back in the first round. Bowers is 6'3" and 241 pounds, and according to the NFL.com, has a 99 production score and an 86 athleticism score. Bowers had 175 catches for 2,536 yards and 26 touchdowns in 3 seasons for the Georgia Bulldogs. I am not saying that Brock Bowers is not going to be a good player in this league. I'm not. And I'm not saying that drafting him in the top 10 is wrong. I am a Jet guy. I'm a Jet fan. I'm not going to throw my team under the bus. It is fitting that the Jets would draft a tight end in the top 10, and he's just another failure for a tight end drafted in the top 15. It doesn't work. I've been saying this for a very long time. You do not draft a tight end in the top 20 picks. I don't care how great he is. Because Kyle Pitts was supposed to be special. And I'm not saying he's not special, but there was a coach or an offensive mind that was there that decided, hey, you know what? I don't want to throw him the ball.
Sean Smith's boy, Arthur Smith.
Yes. Who's now the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am not going to sit here and say that Brock Bowers isn't going to be a star in this league or Aaron Rodgers isn't going to make him special. I am not going to say that. But if Indianapolis wants to move up from 16 to 10 and give the Jets a second and a 4th round draft pick or a second and a 3rd to get him, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would do it I would say, where do I sign? Because you still get the offensive lineman you want at 16. One of them are sitting there. You get your 2nd round draft pick back, and you get a 3rd round draft pick. They're moving up 6 spots. That's what you're probably going to have to give up to move up to get him at 16. And Joe Douglas has been looking and working on bringing in a trade advantage in this year's draft where they can get that 2nd round draft pick. Now, if the Jets decide to pass up on Brock Bowers and make this trade, and Brock Bowers becomes a superstar, superstar, Travis Kelce or George Kittle, or even better than both of those guys, Joe Douglas could lose his job. But as a Jet fan, or throughout the years of these drafts, and I remember a tight end they drafted a long time ago his last name is Brady. And his first name is your name, Kyle Brady. And they decided to draft Kyle Brady over Warren Sapp. I remember that draft, and I wanted to throw up. I wanted to throw up when the Jets did that. I cannot sit here today and say that I would be a happy person if the Jets draft him at 10. I wouldn't. Indianapolis could do it. The Falcons could do it. The Bears could do it. Any other team could do it. Let the Giants do it. Do not draft Brock Bowers at number 10. I am disgusted just hearing the Jets thinking about doing this. And listen, I could be wrong. Brock Bowers could be a star, a superstar in this league. And I will admit I was wrong. But I've been right about this before. I've been right. And I just don't trust the Jets to make the right choice with Brock Bowers. Now, Indianapolis is a team that obviously has one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the NFL, as we see. Look at what the Eagles put up this year as an offensive team with the crap that they had. They have that same practically the same team they had, maybe even a faster team, adding Swift.
Yeah, I think it's more skilled than Sanders is, yeah.
And it failed. Okay, and we saw Indianapolis. They didn't even have their starting quarterback in Richardson because he was out practically the whole season because he had shoulder surgery.
Yep.
They signed Michael Pittman. I think that was a good signing for them. I think he's a great wide receiver. He fills in all the blanks that if they were looking for a wide receiver, if they lost him, probably they wouldn't have filled. So I think if you add a guy like Brock Bowers, I think that really gives them another weapon and makes them even more dangerous in a division that is better. Yeah. I mean, the Texans, you have the Jaguars if the Jaguars fail this year, Trevor Lawrence is going on. This is his fifth year?
This is his fourth year. So the Jaguars are entering the decision for the fifth-year option this year.
If Trevor Lawrence fails to get this team in the playoffs this year, I'd be questioning if they should extend him. I honestly would. I would start, and now I know next year's class isn't that good. Maybe you give him the fifth-year option next year.
I was going to say at least maybe start there first.
But it's telling me it's fitting right now that Trevor Lawrence isn't a star in this league. I mean, right now it seems like that. He's up and down every single game, and you just don't know what you have with him. And they got weapons. They have Calvin Ridley. They had Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, they have Gabe Davis.
They had Gabe Davis. Well, they have Gabe Davis now, and they had Christian Kirk last year. He was off and on with his health situation.
And then they have the great Evan Engram
and ETN. I mean, and they can't find a way to win with, and even a defense that played pretty well in some aspects last year as well. They choked at the end of the season, and a lot to do with Trevor Lawrence. So that's a division that's very interesting. It went from one of the worst divisions in football to one of the better divisions in football.
Yeah, definitely a balanced division. And I think that's why you look at a team like the Colts that can definitely afford to do this kind of swing. So I actually love the fit for Bowers because I think that kind of offense, a creative, heavy motion offense, Austin Gayle was talking about it too. He's not just a traditional tight end. They used him in jet sweeps. They used him in running. They used him in all different things. That kind of offense, I think, would be perfect for them in comparison to Chicago, in comparison to the Jets, where they could end up landing. So I think the trade makes sense for both sides of it. And Chicago especially, I think they definitely could trade back as well. I know Shane Hallam was talking about mocking Dallas Turner to them because I think the Bears make a lot of sense to go defense, make a lot of sense to go edge rush. You just pay Montez Sweat a lot of money, get somebody good on the other side to go along with that, whether it's Latu, whether it's somebody like Dallas Turner. I think that kind of thing makes sense. And for the Jets, yeah, there's a risk that the tackles could go like they did last year. And would the Jets do it at the right price? I think you have to consider it. Like you said, if they get a third-round pick and some other draft picks with it, we know Joe Douglas will love that.
Absolutely. Who do we have on the phone?
Jeff,
what's up?
I wholeheartedly disagree with you. I think Brock Bowers should be a part of our Jets. He is arguably the best weapon in college football in the last 2 years, right? Like, no doubt Marvin Harrison can catch the ball. And Brock Bowers is like, and forgive me for making this comparison because he hasn't killed anyone. He's a bigger, better Aaron Hernandez, where he's going to be too big for defensive backs to cover him, and he's going to be way too fast for linebackers to cover him. And he's that missing piece. They're going to have Mike Williams on one side and Garrett Wilson on the other, and they could have a complete game wrecker like Brock Bowers at tight end. And our Aaron Rodgers loves to throw to tight ends. He loved Bobby Tunyon. He loved Mercedes Lewis. He's always been a tight end guy. And let's face it, our tight ends, while they're nice tight ends, they're slow. Conklin's not outrunning anyone. Jeremy Ruckert's not outrunning anyone.
He became a friendly tight end guy in the last couple of years. Over his first, I would say 5-6 seasons, he would not throw. And Jermichael Finley came out and said, "I barely saw the ball when I was there." Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of tight ends.
Would never say anything.
No, but that was after the fact that there was no Jordy Nelson there anymore. He didn't have the weapons he had early in their careers. Now he's become more of a tight end guy. He's been throwing to those guys. And is Brock Bowers better than Tunyon? Absolutely is. There's no question that he is. But
he might be the biggest game changer. He doesn't play wide receiver, so no one thinks of it that way. But he could be the biggest difference maker in this draft. He honestly could be.
He could be, but I don't trust the Jets to get this one right. And to go after him.
What's not to get right? He's potentially the biggest game changer in the draft.
They need an offensive. They need another offensive lineman. They need another offensive lineman. They need protection.
Where are we weak on the offensive line? Left tackle? Nope. Sorry, we just got Tyron Smith.
Yeah, but he can't stay healthy.
Right.
He'll be fine.
Like that.
He'll be fine.
He can't stay healthy.
He's going to be the one running out of the tunnel with the American flag this year.
And he'll go down in the first 2 plays of the game. Yeah, that'll be great. And then everybody, Brock Bowers, yeah. What are you going to put him on the offensive line to block? Yeah, good luck on that. I mean,
that's what tight ends do.
Yeah, well,
he's not going to be used as a blocker very much.
It's probably the weakest part of his game. But dude, it's inarguable that anytime Georgia needed to play, because they weren't really good offensively the last couple of years, it's basically the defense that carried them. And anytime they needed an offensive play, they threw it to Brock Bowers, who would then just run 80 yards with it. He made SEC football players look like they were 8th graders.
Yeah, he's the best tight end after the catch that I can remember seeing, for sure. But the other question is, too, because we were talking about it with Austin Gayle as well, he's very versatile and creative with so many different things that he could do. Are the Jets going to be able to use him that kind of way, too, is the other question. Because Nathaniel Hackett's had his issues with certain players.
Well, he's not even the offensive coordinator this year. They have 3 offensive coordinators, counting Nathaniel Hackett. He's not even going to be, finalizing the play calling. They have a wide receiver coach. They have a quarterback coach. They're all going to be involved with Robert Saleh. I am loving this year that you're all going to go through Robert Saleh, who doesn't know his ass from his tailbone. The only reason why he has his job right now is because Aaron Rodgers wants him there.
Which is a brilliant move. You're not going to know that other teams aren't even going to see the Jets coming. Who's calling the plays? We don't know which one of the 3. Brilliant move by the Jets to throw other teams off. I just can't.
Have you ever heard anything like this before in NFL history? That there are going to be 3 offensive guys calling the plays. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. It's a joke. What's going to happen if this fails? Okay?
It's not going to fail because we have Aaron Rodgers.
Until he goes down or he gets hurt or he's out for a certain amount of games.
He won't. He's back in a tent smoking ayahuasca, healing up the Achilles. We're good to go, dude.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad you're excited about it because I'm not.
I am Tyron Smith. We don't here's the problem with the argument. You and I understand where you're coming from. Those guys could get hurt and they are a little older. Fine. I get that. But you're not going to sign those guys to those contracts and then in the first round draft offensive linemen to sit on the bench. It doesn't make any sense.
But you're not
we're in win now mode. Let's be in win now mode. So what do we need?
First of all,
Brock Bowers.
First of all, they're not going to be sitting on the bench because knowing the Jets, and we all know the Jets, in the last 2 years, they have gone through 14 offensive linemen, the most in the NFL by a long shot. Okay.
Well, they got rid of that problem. They got rid of the fat pig from the buffet.
Yeah, but there's other guys that can get hurt. It's MetLife Stadium turf.
No one's getting hurt. We got Tyron Smith on one side. We got Morgan Moses on the other. We're good to go. Like, you're not signing those guys and then drafting linemen to play behind them. You want guys on the field that can make an impact. Who makes, like, what other position do they need?
Well, do you trust Woody Johnson to get new turf to help out MetLife Stadium? Because everyone seems to get hurt there.
I mean, that just is what it is. You know, they're not the only slit film turf in the league.
I'm not saying they are, but a lot of other
teams.
It
would bother me, and again, sitting here today, and everybody that knows this show knows that I do root for the Jets. It would be fitting that the Jets draft Brock Bowers, and they lose an offensive lineman early in the season, and then they're trying to find somebody on somebody's practice squad. That is fitting for the Jets.
Right, but you have this narrow-minded vision of
narrow-minded.
No. It is a narrow-minded way to look at it. That, like, oh, we can only get offensive linemen in the first round. No, dude, there's a second round. There's a third round.
They don't have a second round draft pick.
Well, there's a third round. Sometimes in the NFL, they even do a fourth round. Mm-hmm. There's been rumors of a fifth round.
No thanks.
Maybe if they get crazy, there could be a sixth round. And I don't know, just getting wild. Lucky number 7, there could be 7 rounds.
Let me tell you something. Joe Douglas has drafted offensive linemen in the 3rd round, 4th round, twice in the last few years, and a couple, and they've all failed. All of them.
Didn't one already retire too?
Yes.
Right. But that's where you get the linemen that you're looking for, the backups, like that kind of thing. That's where you get those guys. In the first round, you want to game change. We're in win now mode. Don't draft backup linemen in the first round. That would be a disaster.
If they had the 2nd round pick still, I would probably agree with you because there's a lot of good tackle depth in this draft. But since they don't have the 2nd round pick, can you really risk that kind of thing? And I even said it before. Trading back as itself could be risky as well, depending on how many quarterbacks go. Because like Shane Hallam was saying before, like there's not a lot of times you see 4 quarterbacks get drafted in the top 10 as it is, and
it's never happened.
Well,
that would imply one of those other teams trading up, but then the other 2 teams could go a different direction, not draft a quarterback. You don't know.
Right, but we're in win now mode. Be in win now mode. Draft a difference maker. We're already set on defense. I don't care that pig Bryce Huff left us. We don't need him.
No, they just got Hassan Reddick. They got a better player out of it.
Right, exactly. We got better by losing that loser. Right? So let's get some offensive weapons that can be on the field to help us win more football games. That's Brock Bowers.
All right, Jeff, stay on. The Texans have restructured Stefon Diggs' contract to void the final 3 years of his deal, making him an eligible free agent after this season. Diggs will now get $22 million this season and have converted all guaranteed money to this season. Diggs will only get a $1.5 million base salary, but $20.5 million in signing bonuses. The Texans would not get a complimentary draft pick if Diggs enters free agency. The Texans now only have to take $5.87 million cap hit for this season for Diggs. Diggs' cap hit would have been between 18 and 20 million over the next 3 years on his original deal. I understand why people think that Stefon Diggs could be a game changer for the Texans. I understand. We all know how talented he is. We know how great he is. He's a shell of himself. Okay. He's not the same player he was 2-3 years ago when he was a top 5 wide receiver. Now, this past year, especially the second part of the year when Brady took over as the offensive coordinator, it was different. He was not the guy. He started pointing fingers, not at the offensive coordinator, at his quarterback. Every time in his career, wherever he was, when things weren't working out his way, he would point at one guy, and that was the quarterback. It's been going on everywhere he goes, all right? And I'm not attacking him as a talent. This guy is a borderline Hall of Fame player. I mean, he's really been that good over the last 4 or 5 years. Is he going to be a Hall of Fame player? He needs 2 more good years. If he could do it 2 more years, and he does it with the Texans this year, and he does it again, wherever he goes, if he stays with the Texans, he probably wouldn't be. It might work. But let's be honest here. Stefon Diggs and his brother don't shut the hell up. These guys open their big fat mouths everywhere they go, on and off the field. I wouldn't be surprised if they're talking in each other's ear when they're speaking to the press, or they're making their own decisions as two players that think that they know more than everybody else. I'm not a huge fan of the Diggs brothers. Okay, I do believe they're talented. Okay, there's no question that they are. You going to a young team, a young coach, a new coach, a second-year coach, sophomore slump. We've heard this before many, many times. I love C.J. Stroud. I love him. I love his personality. I love his command, in the huddle.
I wish he was a Jet.
I wish more than that, but I love him. All right? I think he's sensational. I think he's going to be a sensational quarterback in this league. Bringing in a personality like this with a bunch of young wide receivers is a catastrophe. And I'm going to tell you this right now. This is not going to work. They know it's not going to work. They're taking a chance on this. They wanted to make a splash. They didn't have to give up much. They made it, and they think that this
a second rounder isn't much.
It's next year. So
it's not anything this year.
It doesn't matter what year it is.
It does.
The value of the picks is still no, it doesn't.
Yes,
the value of the pick is still the value of the pick. Well, there's going to be no players worth drafting in the second round next year. Wow, you got me.
Hey, why are the Jets trying to trade down to get their second round draft pick back?
Oh, so you're saying a second rounder does have value then?
Only when you lose a quarterback in 2 games in 4 plays. Yeah, it does.
Dude, it's the highest draft pick given for a wide receiver in quite some time, I think.
Listen, Jeff. If you're sitting here today and you're telling me that if Stefon Diggs is even a shell of himself on this team and he's going to help you win, then it doesn't matter about a second round draft pick. But if you're going to tell me that this is the same guy that was in the second half crying and throwing everybody, including his offensive line and his quarterback, under the bus because they weren't giving him the ball when he thought he was open all the time, if you were to ask me to make a move like this, I think they're going to, you might be right. They might be eating their words, giving up a second round draft pick for him. I don't know what Diggs you're going to get. And that, to me, worries me.
But the thing you're complaining about is what every good wide receiver does. T.O. used to complain, throw him in the damn ball. Chad Ochocinco used to do it. Randy Moss used to do it. Like, all the good wide, you have to have a certain amount of ego to play the position, and it just comes with being young and being a little brash, and they all do it. You're pretending like this is a one-off thing. All the really good ones do it. This isn't something new.
You're
stunned by it.
Have you ever heard? All right, Davante Adams has been the best wide receiver in the league besides probably the last year, 2 years.
You can all name dudes.
Have you ever heard Davante Adams throw Aaron Rodgers under the bus?
Dude,
have you ever? Come on, just say it.
No. We can all name dudes that haven't done it. And just because you can name a guy that doesn't do what Diggs does doesn't mean it's really
Tyreek Hill, he's not short for words, is he? Did he throw Patrick Mahomes or Tua under the bus? As a matter of fact, he said Tua before the season started, his first year with the Miami Dolphins, that he would take Tua over Patrick Mahomes. What are you, nuts?
And that's why he should be in the NFL substance abuse policy program. That's clearly what it is. But there's a ton of dudes that are like that at that position. Sorry, it just kind of comes with it. It's not something new. How long ago was T.O. playing in those guys? Years ago. And you're stunned that a wide receiver demands the football. Oh my God. Shocking developments.
Jeff, there's also a difference, though, I think, with the way that teams are trying to structure themselves now, where a lot of these teams that won Super Bowl still have top receivers, but they also have good receiving cores. And that's the other thing you have to worry about with somebody like Diggs. Will he be able to adapt to that kind of thing? Because it was like that at certain times in Minnesota. Him and Thielen were pretty much the same level in Minnesota.
Thielen was better than him.
And it would complement each other well when Kirk Cousins first got there. And even before that, the year with Case Keenum, it complemented each other well before that. Now, Buffalo is a little different because he was significantly better than some of the other receivers that they had. They brought in Gabe Davis, who was good, but who was kind of inconsistent. And now they have Kincaid. But with the Texans, they have 2 guys that performed very well last year. They do trade for Joe Mixon, and they have Dalton Schultz as a pretty good tight end. Those are guys that have weapons already there.
Stefon Diggs hated Adam Thielen. Hated him. Why? Because he was a better player over there in Minnesota. He would see the ball.
He hated Kirk Cousins, but
no, he absolutely hated Adam Thielen. And Adam Thielen, he went to Carolina. He was the only bright spot over there this year. Okay, let's be honest. He was the only bright spot. He was a great signing from them, and I think Adam Thielen, to me, I don't know why he's even going back there. I would have demanded to be traded in the offseason.
He'll probably be traded at the deadline.
I mean, seriously. I mean, he's still a good player. I sit here today, and I don't know if the Texans are making the right decision. Now you're taking a chance like this, and you're putting a guy that, as far as I'm concerned, ruins chemistry of teams everywhere he's gone. In Minnesota, he does.
It can, but look at the other side of it. There's a team that was young, had a good year, made the playoffs, and what are they doing? They're making a move to try to get to the next level, like win now, which is why the Jets should draft Brock Bowers. We should win now.
But I also think you look at the way they restructured this deal. They made it where it's not in his hands either. So if it doesn't work, it's the team control, not his control, to opt out as well. So I think from the financial standpoint, they're doing a little bit good both ways. The trade itself was fine for the value. I think you're right, Jeff. They can definitely take a chance on that kind of thing for just the second round pick next year. And that kind of swing might be big, but they also did it well, where if Diggs is a problem, they can get out of it as quickly as possible.
Right. And it gives them an opportunity to see what they have in him. And if they want to re-sign him and give him another contract, they can. And if they don't like it, they're not tied to him. Brilliant move.
Oh, you love this story, Jeff. I think this is a great story for you to be on. Texas defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat was arrested for a DWI just 15 days before the NFL draft. Sweat was thought of as a second-round draft pick by most draft boards and a top 5 prospect at the defensive tackle position. Players like linebacker Alec Ogletree and edge rushers like Shane Ray, projected to be a top 15 pick, fell to later rounds because of their debacles with DUIs. Longtime Cowboys tackle Liel Collins went undrafted after being projected as a first-round draft pick in connections to a murder to his pregnant girlfriend at the time. Tunsil fell to a number 13th pick after being thought of as a top 5 pick after a video came out of him smoking out of a bomb. That
wasn't just a bomb. First of all, he dropped down to 13. He should have risen up on the boards because, quite honestly, and calling it a bomb is disrespectful. That is, quite frankly, the greatest smoking apparatus anyone has ever seen. A gas mask that's also a bomb. I mean, brilliant. He should have been the number 1 overall pick. Just on that invention alone.
The most recent example, your friend, Jalen Carter, who was involved in racing and led to an accident that killed multiple Georgia football players and coaches. So that's a great story, by the way, which we argued.
Trying to tie those two together. What poor writing in that article, because, okay, Sweat got a DUI. Not great. Not very good. Also, Jalen Carter didn't get a DUI. So it's like, how do you tie those two things together? Just wild how they do
that. Part of it is pre-draft mistakes, pretty much.
And also, did you see that other player that got a DUI? The Georgia player that got a DUI? There was another Georgia player that got a DUI. And they gave him a DUI even though he took the breathalyzer and below the legal limit. He wasn't over the legal limit, and they still gave him a DUI.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
Here's the problem. And I'm not going to get too deep into this because there's a lot about this. And I don't know anything about this kid. I don't know much about Sweat. I know Jeff does because he follows college football as much as he does. Speedy, you know who he is.
I've been known to dabble.
Yes. I'm not a Texas fan, so I don't know much about his talent. And what you're saying, he could be projected as a second-round draft pick. So he's a starter in the NFL. He has massive talent that I've read about before we got into the show. He could be a top 5 defensive tackle in this class. Now, could be and should be are 2 different statements. Now, obviously, this situation and being arrested for a DWI definitely puts him on the shelf. Now, that doesn't mean teams are just going to say, you know what, I'm not drafting him. Yeah. Because Jalen Carter was drafted in the top 10. The Eagles weren't worried about drafting him in the top 10 after the stuff that happened. And he actually was a part of 2 people being killed in accidents. So it might have not been his fault, Jeff, but still he was involved with it. So he had, and I would agree with you, Jeff, this has nothing to do with one or the other. What bothers me about this is that you're a top prospect. You're going to make millions and millions of dollars. And you have a chance to change your family's, your family's worth for many, many years, even your family's families. If you become the player that some people think that you could become, you could be a multi-millionaire. And you decided to do something stupid 15 days before an opportunity comes where you could be a second-round draft pick and make hundreds of millions of dollars in the future. I think
they're kids, though. They're kids. Like, did you ever do anything dumb?
Yeah, I did, but I'm not.
Right, and so he got caught. But like it happens every year. Some kid does something stupid. They're 20 and 21 and 22 years old. They're morons. These people. Like I was an idiot when I was that age. That's not like he's an idiot or like what? No, everyone that's 20 is dumb. I was dumb at 20. Like people make mistakes. So like I'm sure if he just owns up to it and whatever, I don't think it'll hurt him too much.
They think they're untouchable, Jeff. That's the problem with these guys. They think they can get away with everything.
Everyone does.
Everyone does. Well, shame on them because it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. The world doesn't work that way, Jeff.
Right.
I'm going to be an NFL player. I'm going to be an NBA player. I'm going to be an NHL or MLB player. So you know what? I'm going to drink and drive and try to kill people. Who cares? I'm going to be a millionaire. And who cares?
This brings up a good point in our comment section. Not everyone gets going to get guaranteed millions in 2 weeks.
You know what? Let's bring Fish in.
Right, but you see every day plumbers are getting arrested for DUI and stuff.
Plumbers?
Just people do.
Plumbers.
There's common everyday people getting arrested for DUI.
Jeff, plumbers are multi-millionaires with the blink of an eye. They're not getting a contract that's going to be worth $1.5 to $2 million signing posts.
But that's the difference for you. You're trying to make a big deal out of it because it's going to be more money for you. Hide your jealousy for a minute.
Oh, it's my jealousy now.
Mistakes.
Are you nuts? Have you lost your mind?
Everything is always the money with you. Everything's always
it has nothing to do with it. First of all, I could care less about the money, and anybody that knows me, I could care less about the money.
You care less about the money?
Yes.
Don't bring it up. It's not a part
No,
of
I'm going to
this.
bring it up because it makes no sense.
So
it doesn't make sense. How could you stand up for a kid that's a complete moron? You're going to tell me a 22-year-old sitting there knows he's going to be a top second-round draft pick, and you're going to sit here and say, "Oh, I'm going to pat you. Don't worry. Don't do it again." Like a little dog taking a shit in your house.
No.
What are you, nuts?
I'm saying kids make dumb decisions. He made a dumb decision. It was clearly a mistake. But the money has nothing to do with him being an idiot and making a mistake. He doesn't
has a lot to do with it, though, Jeff. Like, not everybody has in less than 3 weeks going to get drafted and make over $1 million. When I got out of college, the market crashed in 2008. And an internship I had disappeared. This guy has a chance, and just like many people, we had to grind it out. This guy had a lottery ticket. He was sitting on the golden ticket. Maybe it's not first overall pick, but he's going to make a few million as a second round pick.
Ticket also hasn't disappeared.
Stay in a hermetically sealed room for 3 weeks and then be an idiot.
Well,
and also, you realize he's still holding that lottery ticket, right? He didn't. That lottery ticket didn't go away. He's still holding that lottery ticket.
He's not going to get drafted in the second round. He's not going to get a guaranteed contract. He lost a lot of money just now. I don't know what you're talking about. This is stupid beyond all belief.
And like also Gayle was saying too, it's a premier position, defensive tackle. He might have even gone late first round for all we know.
Dude, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And Jeff, I understand you're going to stick up for these guys because you like to drink and you like to do your things. And
that's party.
I know you like to party. I know that's who you are. But I agree with Fish. He had the golden ticket. He's not going to have the golden ticket anymore. Teams are going to be weary on bringing him in. Why would you bring in a kid that has all the talent in the world? We've seen a lot of these kids, all the talent in the world, and then do something stupid and say, you know what? There was a tight end who the Jets drafted in the 4th round a couple of years ago. He had a great first year. And then he decides to get drunk and drive in the Lincoln Tunnel and almost kill people, okay? You know who I'm talking about.
Chris Herndon,
okay? And
better off than Josh Brent.
And what happened to Chris? What happened to Chris Herndon after that, my friend? What happened to him?
Right, but
what happened to him? Stop changing the subject. What happened to him?
Yeah, right. He's gone.
No,
got it.
There we go.
Right.
That's all I gotta say.
Right. Okay, but can we make it just a distinction here? Because like this is like the truth of the matter, and maybe this is what makes you mad. I'm not quite sure what makes you mad. He's still holding that lottery ticket, and at the end of the day, Chris Herndon sucked. He wasn't talented. He wasn't good.
He wasn't talented? Come on,
and that's why they got rid of him, because talent wins out. Because Greg Hardy can throw his girlfriend down on a pile of guns and beat the living crap out of her, and Jerry Jones is like, that's my kind of guy.
Oh, maybe they'll draft him this year too.
First
second
of all,
round pick of the Cowboys.
Before he tore his knee, Chris Herndon was expected to be a second round draft pick. I don't know what you're talking about. I know you know college football. You know that Chris Herndon was a second round draft pick before he tore his knee. And that's why he fell to the fourth round. And that's why the Jets took a chance on him.
That happens all the time too. That happened to Jake Butt.
Yes. I understand that, but that's not
right. So injuries
said he had no talent.
Can drop.
You said he had no talent. He had talent.
Oh, great. Oh, he's got talent. Well, he's not playing, so no talent because knees heal.
He's not playing anymore because he decided to drive into the Lincoln Tunnel drunk.
Right, but what I'm telling you is, if he had enough talent that it was worth it, NFL teams would have kept him, because you can look around the league. You can look around the league every day, and there's always someone getting arrested, and teams keep the people that get arrested because it's worth them to try to win football games. Chris Herndon wasn't worth keeping. He wasn't talented enough for them to say, oh, we're going to take the PR hit on this one and we're going to keep rolling because we can survive this. He was expendable. He didn't have the talent to survive the Lincoln Tunnel thing.
Wait, well, hold on 1 second. You know he went to Miami. He went to the Dolphins after that. You know
my God, the Dolphins.
He went there too.
Wow.
So, yeah, and the Dolphins did not, ever since he decided to drive drunk and run himself into the Lincoln Tunnel, almost kill people, the Dolphins didn't even give him a chance to make the roster. They let him come on, and they practically dropped him just as quick as they signed him. Okay,
right.
So, but hold on 1 second, Jeff. And I disagree completely what you're saying. I think we all do. All right, because you're wrong. You're making excuses for these kids. They're too young. They're too stupid. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I called what he did stupid.
All right, why did Aaron Hernandez, after he killed three people, why wasn't he signed by another team? He was great. He was talented.
Because he murdered somebody.
Oh, so you're telling me Jalen Carter was a part of an accident that murdered two other people? That's okay, and it's okay that he's in the NFL.
Wait, hold on. I think you have your facts mixed up. Did you call what Aaron Hernandez did an accident? I said, oh, he was involved in an accident?
I didn't say that.
It's an accident?
I didn't say that.
Go back and listen to what you just said.
I didn't say that.
$5,000. I'll bet you $5,000 you called it an accident.
Jeff, Jalen Carter was involved with two people being murdered in an accident.
That's not murdered. That's a car accident. That's not a murder.
He was involved with it. What are you, an idiot? He was involved with it.
Maybe
what
you're
are you
confused
nuts?
about. Maybe
you're lost.
You're confused about what murder
what
is
that?
and what a car accident
what are
is.
you? That's not what
Jeff, that's not even the point, man.
Had his girlfriend murdered.
I know who Ray Carew is. Do you know the story about Ray Carew? Do you know how he tried to get away from the police? He hid in his girlfriend's trunk and he pissed himself and crapped himself. I know the whole story about Ray Carew. Okay? You're not going to sit here.
His name. You don't even know his name.
Caruth,
whatever. I know the story.
Jeff,
how do I know the story, Jeff? How do I know the story? How do I know the story?
He murdered somebody.
Stop, Jeff. Stop. And
Jeff,
Jalen,
I think you have to understand, like, you're defending. Look, you could say you're not defending him. I think it sounds like you're defending them. It's different, though, today than when we were in college years ago, when there was no Uber, there was no Lyft, where it's so easy now with the touch of a button, you can get someone to show up at whatever place you're drinking at and get a ride home. You don't have to drive there. You don't have to worry about nothing. And this guy's about to get a golden ticket. He doesn't have to worry about his Uber credit card bill or anything. This is ridiculous. This is an unforced error. He's hitting it into the net here, man. This is
Wait,
crazy.
Fish, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I'm not defending what he did. I said he made a mistake. I said it's not right. But I also am saying he's still holding that golden ticket because in the NFL, DUI is not an automatic disqualification. There's plenty of people in the league with the DUI.
And my answer to that, and I'm going to give you an answer to that, Jeff. All he's going to do, he's going to get drafted. He's going to get drafted. He's going to get signed. He makes one dumb mistake, and he's gone. One dumb mistake. He's gone.
That's going to depend on how good he is.
That don't matter.
Because,
that don't matter.
It does matter.
It don't matter.
Or if he gets drafted by the Cowboys.
People would have signed Ray Rice if Ray Rice wasn't at the end of his career.
No, because he was the first positional player who was a star, who had domestic violence was videotaped. He was never coming back to the NFL, even if he was still a star.
Right, but he was also like 31 or 32, and it wasn't worth taking a risk on a young running back.
I think he was 30.
I think he was 30. Pretty sure he was 30.
He was 30.
And he was still very good.
He was very good.
Right, it's the same age. It's basically the same age. That's elderly as far as running backs go.
Okay, and still nobody took a chance on what was a top 5 running back in the league at the time for even just a 1-year deal to win a Super Bowl because of how bad it was.
By the way, Keith is saying it's just a DWI. Oh my God, take it easy. I'm not going to take it easy because
there's been NFL players that have killed other humans that went on to
Ruggs
still play
he's in
NFL
he's
football.
in jail right now.
Yes.
Yeah, great job.
No.
Well, you're talking about Stallworth,
You're going to jump in. You missed what I just said. There have been NFL players that have killed other human beings that went on to come back, get contracts, and still play in the NFL.
Yeah, who?
Dante Stallworth.
I do remember that story. And by the way, how he stayed out of jail made no sense. Okay.
He got he didn't stay out of jail. He did go to jail, but it was like 28 days, I think, or something, which again is also ridiculous. I would agree with you. It's also ridiculous. But he killed somebody.
And he won a Super Bowl after that. Yeah. And he won a Super Bowl, right? He was in a Super Bowl. He played in a Super Bowl with the Patriots, right? I think it was the Patriots.
I thought he won. I'm pretty sure he won, I thought.
Did he win?
You think that didn't cost him money, though? You're out of your mind. It cost him millions of dollars. There's no way he made the same amount of money if that didn't happen. He would have made a lot more money. And the same goes for these guys, dude. It's not even close. He's not going to get a guaranteed contract. He's going to get a 6th round pick, 7th round pick that they're just going to cut him. And if he gets in trouble again, probation with a DWI, he's gone.
Round is what you're saying?
No, I think he'll be. I don't think a 6th round. I would say
he might not even drop that far. He might not drop it. All depends on what he tells these people.
4th. I think a 4th round. I think he falls to a 4th round pick. That's where I think he goes. I think he's a 2nd round talent. I mean,
and by the way, that's more beneficial for him. Honestly.
Yeah, we'll see how beneficial.
Money is more beneficial. What are you talking about? In what world are you playing in, man?
If you're a first round draft pick, automatically, no matter what, your contract is a 4-year contract with a 5th-year option. In the 2nd round, it's only a 4-year contract. When you get to the later rounds, it's only a 3-year contract. So if he were to drop that far, he actually could be doing himself a favor because if he plays well, he cashes in early.
Yeah, so let me drive drunk and I'll cash in early. Hey, maybe I should do that.
Yeah, maybe he did.
Maybe I should get drunk on a live radio show, get messed up, and I'll get a contract quicker.
Jeff,
let's do it. I'll get drunk. Hey, guys, give me a beer. Let me drink. Give me a 6-pack. I'll get drunk. And I'll get signed quicker. Hey, by the way, all you ESPN guys, come and listen to us. I'm drunk. I'm sitting here telling you to kiss my rear end. I'll pull my you-know-what out and show everybody what I'm working with.
Right, but again,
let's
to
do it.
That kind of thing, you would actually have to have talent. And we've seen the show, and we know it's not discernible.
Jeff, maybe he did it on purpose. Maybe he did it on purpose to get drafted by the Cowboys in the 3rd round.
You're an idiot.
No one's doing it on purpose. And I'm not justifying it. And Fish is right. Like, we do live in a day and age where it's easy to get an Uber and easy to get a Lyft and things like that. Like, people should be doing that kind of stuff. But I also don't think it's really going to hurt his draft stock too much.
Okay, we'll see. Jeff, before we let you go, I'll make a bet with that. You want to make a bet on that?
If you take my 5, first of all, you made a bet.
No, I didn't make a bet. I didn't make the bet. You're trying to draw me into the bet.
Hold on. You put it out there that
did I make the bet?
Caitlin Clark would average 30 points or better. And I said, I'll
make the bet. I didn't make the bet.
Yeah, 5K. Let's make the bet.
I didn't say that. I did not say that. I don't even know what she's playing next year.
Right, but you said she would go to the WNBA and average between 30 and 40 points, and you were sitting there calling out Keith. Make the bet, Keith. Make the bet, Keith. Well, Keith didn't want to. But guess what? I'm your Huckleberry.
All right. I'll be your Huckleberry. I'll make a bet. I'll make a bet right now that your guy is not going. You're saying he's not going to drop that far. I predict.
First of all, he's not my guy.
Why don't you get on your knees and suck him off? Because that's what you're saying. It's okay,
just come out of the closet.
It's okay.
You have so much.
Hang up the
you
phone.
have so much.
Hang up the phone. I'm tired of this guy. I'm tired of hearing this guy. He is so full of crap, man. He is so full of crap. He is going to sit on this show and tell me, hey, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. And I don't want to hear it from Keith. Keith, no offense. For you to agree with that idiot, that nincompoop, you sound like a retard. Okay? And I hate that word. You sound stupid. You sound stupid to make it seem like it's okay for him to go out and drink and get in trouble. This is wrong. And honestly, he is going to fall. He is going to fall. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't know. I don't think he's going fifth or sixth or seventh round. I think maybe Fish is over-exaggerating there.
Yeah,
but
I'm thinking more third, fourth.
I don't even think third. I think
mean,
a lot of... Go ahead.
I don't know, man. The NFL, they at least like to put on a good show like these days that they're taking it seriously. There may be one of those hush-hush things where you don't take this guy, going on. I know you like conspiracy theories and how it's rigged.
I love it.
I really don't think they're going to – I would be surprised if he goes before the fifth. I would say, fourth round or later at best, personally. I just think there's something up with that. They're going to be like, don't take this guy. And again, with the DWI, you're going to be on probation for at least a year. He gets in trouble again. That's it. Why would anyone give him guaranteed money? I mean, the only guy who's ever gotten guaranteed money like that is Deshaun Watson because the Browns are stupid. And, and look how that's worked out for them. He's clearly, he wasn't even able to be better than Joe Flacco at 39 last year.
Come on, Fish. Doesn't it scream the perfect Dallas Cowboys third-round pick, though? He's from Texas. They need defensive tackles, and he has off-field issues. It's perfect.
And Keith says everybody deserves a second chance. You might be right. But a kid like this who
not
obviously
6 days later, he's going to have to earn it. He's going to have to go to classes, drug court, all that crap in Texas. Because guess what? It's a lot of stuff is more illegal there, than it is in other places. So
you just said the right team that'll probably draft him. The Dallas Cowboys.
He's the perfect Cowboys third-round pick.
Perfect. He's perfect.
15 years ago, he would have went to the Pac-Man Bengals, and he would have fit right over there, with Perfect and those guys. Yep. But
listen. I respect some of the takes that Jeff, gives, but and he stuck up for Jalen Carter last year, and Jalen Carter was a part of two people being killed, and maybe he didn't murder them, but he was a part of it. And he didn't go to jail. He didn't get in trouble. He was still a top 10 pick. And that's the problem. The NFL is an organization that always gives people second chances, except Ray Rice. And I want to give a shout out to Ray Rice. We should reach out. I would love to get Ray on the show. Ray Rice has not only been a giving person ever since what he did to his future wife, which he's married and he's got kids with. He's donated his time, his life to domestic violence. And that says a lot about who Ray Rice is and the person that he stands for. And that's not easy for people to do that. Okay? To take in his career, he was still at the top of his career. He was still a good player. Jeff says he was at the tail. No, he wasn't.
No, he was still a top 5 running back at the time.
He was a top 5 running back in the league. The women's organizations would not let a guy like Ray Rice get another chance. It was not. It was the first of its kind. To see something like that on TMZ, to watch him knock out his future wife the way he did and then drag her out of the elevator. I mean, it was despicable. It was something you don't usually see. But Kareem Hunt's still in the NFL. Greg Hardy was in the NFL. Brown, I mean, the Giants practically tossed that under the rug.
Yeah, that was the worst one.
I mean, the great organization that the Giants and the Mara families are.
Not after that.
And the Tisch family. Oh, we don't believe in that stuff. We'll get rid of the guy. Yeah, it took you forever when you knew this was going on for years, and threw it under the rug because he was Brown, and they couldn't. They decided, hey, you know what? We have one of the better kickers in the league. Why would we get rid of him?
And that was just for a kicker, you know. Yep. Like it's so crazy, you know, the hypocrisy you see with these owners. You know, how out of touch some of them are. I mean, the stuff that Woody Johnson's been saying on the radios recently.
What an idiot, man.
Like, what a colossal loser. You're not, I mean, I know the Knicks are winning right now, but I thought with Dolan there being the owner that until he was dead or had to sell the team for something stupid, they would never win. And, you know, he somehow got out of the way. Woody Johnson is just, what a joke. And he's not the only one. Mara's got that same ho-hum about him. You know, he's not his dad. They haven't won since he really took over, you know, in a meaningful way. You know, it's not encouraging to say it the least. And as far as Ray Rice, he is a year older than me, and he was a legend in New York high school football. We were in the same section. I remember him scoring 2 touchdowns on offense and then 2 pick sixes before halftime against our varsity when I was a little younger. He was out of control, amazing athlete. His last year in the NFL, Jeff isn't wrong. He really had a down year that last year, but most likely is because he was going through some stuff at home and he was injured.
I think he still had, I still think he had over 800 yards.
Yeah, the Ravens
combined.
The Ravens also lost Jonathan Ogden.
And by the way,
in 2013,
Keith said this. Ray Rice beat the F out of his wife, and everyone saw it on video. That was the difference. Okay. Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy had all sorts of guns sitting on his bed. I don't know if anybody read the case before they dropped it, because his girlfriend got paid off and everybody knows it. All right. He beat the hell out of his girlfriend with those guns, pistol whipped her, dragged her to the bathroom, beat the hell out of her in the bathtub, smacked her around, punched her. This is a almost 300-pound lineman. Okay. Then slams her on the ground, takes her to the toilet bowl, beats her up some more, and then sticks her head in a toilet bowl to try to drown her. And then left her there. Okay? It's a lot worse than Ray Rice one-hit wonder, knocking her out with one punch. Okay? This is ridiculous. And Ray Rice never stepped foot on a football field again. And Greg Hardy signs a 4-year deal with the Cowboys. What are you talking about, Keith? That's ridiculous. Oh, because it was recorded? Kareem Hunt was recorded kicking a girl. He's still in the NFL, still getting contracts. Deshaun Watson, likes to get his chain yanked more than once a day, okay? In the stadium, as the Texans allowed him to do what he wanted because he was Deshaun Watson.
Fish, talk about corrupt ownership over there with the McNair.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And you're going to sit here and tell me, well, you know what? It was taped, so that's why he's not in the NFL anymore. Oh, great excuse. He's the only Samaritan. He's the only person right now. Look at what Michael Vick did. Michael Vick went to jail for 2 years. People have had dogfighting going on since the 1800s. I mean, they've cockfighting. They have all these crazy things down south. They do everything. It's all about money. All right. Michael Vick made a mistake. And he paid for it. And if it wasn't for Donovan McNabb, he probably doesn't have a second part of his career. Michael Vick is not in the NFL anymore. Michael Vick still stands for saving animals, saving dogs, protecting animals. That says something about him as a man, that what he did was wrong. And he honestly didn't deserve a second chance. Nobody wanted to give it to him. He came back. He got booed every single time he stepped on that field. Apologizing to everybody. They did a 30 for 30, 2-part, show on him. Apologizing for what he did. And honestly, you can't apologize for murdering animals like that, okay? Killing them and burying them half alive. But what he has done after the fact, dog rights, human rights, everything that he does, and he speaks, and he goes in front of the Congress and he speaks about saving animals. It says a lot about him as a man. And you want to know something? Did he deserve a second chance? No. But now, I look at Michael Vick. He had to do it. He doesn't have to do it now. He could disappear off the face of the earth. Nobody gives a crap. Michael Vick, by the way, Michael Vick's the only person that fell into debt, almost $15 million. And when he made his money, he could have claimed bankruptcy. He didn't. He bet on himself. He went out there and he worked his ass off and paid back all those credit card companies. How many players done that, Keith? How many people have done that? Stop it, Keith. Stop listening to Jeff. You're talking about a jackass over there. He's a jackass. It's ridiculous to sit here and listen to that dope. Oh, it's okay. He did it once. Give him a second chance. He kills a woman. Henry Ruggs. Oh, it's okay. He'll be back in 3 years. He'll be out of jail. He's Henry Ruggs, and he'll get another NFL job. Oh, it's okay. Come on. It's just ridiculous. And second chance. It's bullshit. And you want to know something? I'm not going to say, I don't curse on this show, but when I sit and I listen to idiots like Jeff, he's an idiot. He's a jackass. Because it's okay. It's okay. Everybody deserves a second chance. It's just a DWI. Ridiculous. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reports that LeBron James is likely to opt out of his contract after the season. LeBron also said he wants a no-trade clause added into his next contract. Bradley Beal is the only player with a max contract to also have a no-trade clause. Windhorst added that LeBron only sees himself playing for 1 or 2 more seasons in the NBA. Reports say that Bronny James will enter the NBA draft, but has entered the transfer portal to maintain his college eligibility if he isn't expected to be drafted. Bronny is perceived to be a second-round draft pick or an undrafted prospect by most NBA executives and scouts. Bronny James is not an NBA player. He's not. He's nowhere close to what his father is. He's a generational player, LeBron James. I didn't think LeBron James was ever going to be the player that everybody thought he was going to be when he came out of high school. He was I think he was the last high school player drafted. Since then, the NBA has decided to cancel high school players. Now, I think the NBA might be bringing it back. I don't know.
Yeah, there's been discussions.
There's been discussions about it. Bronny James is not a good player. And if I was Bronny, I'd go back and play 1 more year of college ball. I would get out of USC. I would go to an easier conference where he could play more and be more dominant, show his skills, show what he could do on a basketball court. He's not his father. Again, no, he's not. First of all, he's nowhere the size of his father. His father's 6'8". He's like 6'2", 6'3". His brother, I think his brother's name is Bryce, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. His brother could be way better than him. He could shoot. He could do it. He's much bigger. And I think he's like 6'6", 6'7", like his father. And a little bit more athletic than Bronny. I don't understand why LeBron wants to go back to the Lakers. He's never going to win there. They're not winning there. They're going to have to restructure that team in the next year and a half. So if LeBron James wants to win another championship, I go to Miami. I go to one of those teams. I go to OKC, a young, prosperous team that has a chance to be one of the elite teams in the league for the next 10 years.
What do you consider going Cleveland round 3? So maybe.
No, because I think Cleveland. I think Donovan Mitchell has 1 foot out of there. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's staying there. Do you?
Yeah, but he made LeBron. He still might lure somebody else. So who knows?
Donovan Mitchell's not staying there no matter what. I think we all know where he wants to go. And if the Knicks want him, they'll take him. You know, I don't know if the Knicks want him, but that only time will tell. You know, by when he becomes a free agent, I think Julius Randle could be gone.
Yeah. So
they could bring Donovan Mitchell in if they want to bring in an undersized 2-man. But I don't understand this whole Bronny thing, and I understand the NBA would love to get another James there, and maybe he's the wrong one. But this kid has been blown up. He just bought a brand new house. I don't know if anybody saw it. He bought a mansion over there in LA or wherever he bought it. He's driving a ridiculous car. He's grown up with, LeBron came from rags to riches.
Right.
I mean, he came from Ohio. I mean, he came from one of the crappiest places of Cleveland. Okay. I mean, and now, obviously LeBron James is a multi-billionaire. He's got business after business after business. And because he has the last name James, as we all know, the Jordan brothers, I mean, the sons, Marcus and Jeffrey, they never amounted to anything. It's very hard for ex-superstar players to have a son that becomes another superstar. I mean, Dwayne Wade, look at his son. Guy is a G League player at best. The only reason why he's playing in the G League team for Utah because he owns a piece of them. Okay? I mean, could we go? And I watch these guys grow up. I watch Bronny play. I watch Dwayne Wade's son play and grow up. I thought they were going to be good. They're just not. It doesn't work that way. And again, LeBron James, I know why he wants to come back. I know he wants to win another championship. He wants to get, what was it? Would be his fifth championship. Yeah. Kobe's won 5. He wants to tie Kobe. I mean, predominantly he wants Jordan's championship so he could be compared to him. But it's not going to happen. But I'm not going to sit here and try to shake and rattle this to not know why LeBron James wants to play another 2 years. He wants to play with his son. He wants a new contract. He knows that the Lakers, if he falls to the second round, the Lakers will draft him. They'll take a shot with him. They'll draft him because it'll make LeBron happy. That's why they'll do it. He is not a second-round draft pick. If there was a third or fourth round, he wouldn't be a third or fourth round draft pick. He's not good. He's not an NBA player. Now, if he goes back to college and proves himself and maybe develops a little bit more, maybe he is. I mean, Kenyon Martin's son, he was a second-round draft pick. Nobody thought he was any good. What happened? He developed. He went to the right team, the right organization, and now he's playing. He's a second-tier player on another team. Gary Payton, his son, he went to Golden State. He developed. He wasn't a good player. He was a second-round draft pick. All right. What did he do? He earned his stripes. He got a contract, got a big contract, and he went somewhere else. Those players, and it does happen. Gary Payton's son was in college basketball, I think, for 2 or 3 years. He developed. I mean, Kenyon Martin's son was in college basketball for 2 or 3 years. He developed. LeBron's son, Bronny, has not developed. He has not turned into anything. He's had all the hype everywhere he's gone. He went to the best high school, the best basketball high school team because of who his father is. Carmelo Anthony's son is going to be something. He's a good player. He knows who his father is. He beats it into him. Carmelo Anthony. He beats it into him. He's playing over here in Long Island. I think he plays for Cold Harbor or something like that. And he's playing great basketball right now. And And Carmelo is beating on him because he hasn't decided where he wants to go and play college ball. He is not going to go into the NBA in his first year. He is going to play at least 2 years of college ball because that's Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony is going to make sure that his son succeeds. Bronny is a guy that has had things handed to him because of who his father is, and that's why it is what it is. And I think LeBron James is one of the greatest players of all time and one of the biggest windbags of all time. Okay. He's ruined the game of basketball. He stands for whatever he stands for. He goes into these politic rants when he speaks to the press. I don't want to hear it from him. I just want to hear when are you going to win your next championship? And by the way, I don't want to hear that you're the next coming of Jordan. You're not. You're never going to be. Stop with your crap. I'm done with hearing it. Your wife shouldn't be speaking for you. What, you can't speak for yourself? You need a woman speaking for you? I'll tell you what. I'll hit you up, man. I have a couple of women reach out to you and they'll speak for you because it seems like you can't do it for yourself. You got your sons and your woman, preaching to the choir. I don't want to hear LeBron James's mouth anymore. And by the way, your son sucks.
And again, you also look at like the natural trajectory that LeBron's going to have versus what Bronny James could have too. Like you said, Bronny struggled in what was the worst year for Pac-12 basketball in a very long time. Like USC was in a conference that had Arizona and Washington State make the tournament, and Colorado. That was 3 teams made the tournament. That was it. And he still scored under 6 points a game. Like, he definitely should go back to college. Now, where he goes is another question. Does he want to play with other talent around him? Does he want to go to a smaller school where he might be the feature scorer if he is really that good, which I don't think he is either? That's the decision he should make. Now, at the same time, does Bronny want to play with his dad so badly in the NBA? If some NBA team is going to give him a chance, you also need that circumstance to give him a chance. A team that can bring LeBron in or on a trade.
Speedy, you don't think he's going to the NBA?
No, I think he does. But again,
how about you, Fish? What do you think?
Not this year. First off, he's declaring because USC lost their coach. Enfield was there for a long time. He was the one that had that great run at Florida Gulf Coast. Yeah. Years ago, which, by the way, if you've ever seen pictures of that campus, it's probably the most amazingly beautiful campus, at least on the East Coast. I don't know why you'd leave there except for a job like that in SC, which is also beautiful. Right. So that's probably why he's declaring. The guy had a heart attack because he has a congenital heart defect in the preseason or beginning of the season this year. Who the hell is drafting someone with a heart defect? Scored like 2 points a game or whatever it was.
6 points. Yeah, it was like 5.8 points a game in a really bad Pac-12.
What, a barely rotation guy in the Pac-12? I mean, let's face it, it's all name recognition. Bryce, his younger son, is a junior. He's a 3-star. If you look at some 4-star recruited, if you look at others, which just means that, he's not super high ranked, but should be a starter in college, probably better than Bronny. But again, I'm more worried about, the idea that a guy like this would be even considered for anything. Like, let's just make sure that he's healthy, that he can play, like that. Right. I don't get it. Like, what are you talking about?
Why would he buy a mansion if he wasn't going to the NBA?
He's got money from daddy. I'm pretty sure.
He's got NIL deals too. I mean, he's
sure
definitely because of who his father is and who he is. I mean, he's been on commercials. We've seen him on commercials. I'm telling you right now, he wouldn't have bought that mansion and he bought it in a very ritzy area of LA. Okay. I mean, that's big bucks. And I'm telling you right now, he's going to the NBA. He is going to be open and the Lakers are going to draft him. One way or another, the Lakers are going to bring him in. They're going to bring him in. And he says, if I'm not drafted, I'm going to go back and be eligible for, next year's NBA draft. Nobody's going to draft him next year either. He's not good. And what is Jeff saying? He's going where?
Duquesne.
How does he know he's going to Duquesne?
That was not announced yet.
I mean,
does he know something that we don't know?
That would imply LeBron having to just go sign with the Sixers or something like that. Like why would you're going to follow him to the other side of the country, Pennsylvania? Okay. I mean, Daryl Morey does do extreme things, so you never know.
I'm telling you right now, bet it that one way or another he'll be drafted in the second round by the LA Lakers.
They want to keep him there.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think I'd want to have a star a superstar as your parent for the guy that you have in the NBA. But if they were just a good, really good player, such as a Del Curry, such as a Michael Thompson, and their kids end up being as great as they were, that's a little different. I mean, you know, Steph Curry was given every single ball handling drill, the best training possible because his dad wanted to see him succeed. So, I mean, it's not always that, you know, you see the situation that where Bronny's nowhere near as good as his father. Sometimes the kids are better. You know, I don't think you see it with superstars, though. You know, Del Curry might have made an all-star game or two. I don't really know.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
Sabonis. Yes.
You know, guys like that, you see the kids do really, really well.
Manning brothers. I mean, you know, after who their father was. I mean, they're in football, you see it a lot. In basketball, not really. I mean, it's a rarity. These guys, I mean, honestly, when you look at talent, you know, when you look at guys like Dwayne Wade and you look at guys like Michael Jordan, as good as his sons were in high school, they couldn't cut it. They couldn't. What is he saying? What is John Suggs saying?
They might not. The Mets not.
My Mets. I'm not a Met fan.
I'm a Met fan.
I'm not a Met fan.
And I know they suck. I picked them to finish like 75 wins this year.
And by the way, John, I'm the only person that said the Yankees are going to win the East. So what are you talking about? I mean, obviously you don't listen to the show, but we haven't even made our baseball picks. And Speedy, well, who did I say was going to win the American League East?
You said the Yankees.
The Yankees. And I said the Yankees will win between 97 to 100 games, and they will. And you could book that. So stop saying that I'm sitting here. What is he saying?
Yeah, Brunson and Curry are both better than their fathers, Keith. And John says you're a New York Jets fan.
So what? So what? I'm a Jet fan.
And he's criticized the Jets too, John.
And what are you? And what are you? A Baltimore Raven fan? What is
John? I thought was a Panthers fan, but
I rest my case. You were going to talk about the Jets, and you're a Panther fan. Good luck on that, John.
I don't remember. I think he's from Carolina. John says I will take that bet. Yankees won't win 84.
All right, let's do it. What do you want to bet on that, John?
Right, so he's a Braves fan.
All right, John. What do you want to bet on that? John, what do you want to bet on that? That the Yankees won't win 84 games. What do you want to bet on that? I'll bet you whatever you want. Let's do it. That's a bet I will take. Let's bet. Come on. That's something I will bet because I'm pretty positive they're going to win more than that. They're going to win more than 95 games this year. So if you think they're going to win 84 games, let's make the bet. I lost on what crap?
Yeah, that I don't remember, John. You have to specify that.
Whatever
bet he was.
Yeah, you know what, Jeff? You sit here and you make bets. You don't even live up to your bets. Stop it, Jeff. Stop. Oh, I was ready to do it. You were never going to do it, Jeff. Stop it. You're an idiot. You're a jackass. I'm not even going to say it on live radio. I can tell you what I really think of you. But, you know, you're a lying sack of you-know-what. You're going to sit here and tell everybody you live up to your bets? You don't live up to anything. I will do anything, and if I make a bet and I follow through with it, I live up to it, okay? I have never backed down from a bet. You, on the other hand, you piece of garbage, couldn't even live up to your bets. You're a loser, Jeff. You're a loser. That's what you are. You're a fat piece of lard. That's what you are. You're a piece of meat, which half the women don't want. That's for damn sure. But I don't really care what you have to say, Jeff. You're a loser, and you're going to sit here and you're going to talk about me, and you have all the nicest things to say on the post, but you can't really live up to your bets. At least I live up to mine. Here I go with the bets, and every single bet that I've made, I paid up. Ask Josh Silverberg. I just took him out to dinner.
John, what was the bet that you made with him, though? I don't remember what it actually was. Do you remember what the actual concept of the bet was?
What was the bet? I want to hear it. If it's a bet that I lost, I'll live up to my bet. A steak dinner, I'll take you to a steakhouse. What did I do? What was the bet that I made? I want to hear it.
Yeah, I just don't remember what it was, John. We believe you might be right. I'm just saying, what was it?
Pure garbage, Jeff. Pure garbage? At least I apologized to it. Your fat ass didn't. Your fat ass don't do nothing. What was this over here?
All right, yeah, John, if you can find what it was for us, and I'll see if I can remember what it was.
John,
you have to
if you're
find
making bets like this with 84 wins for the Yankees, and I know they lost to Miami tonight, but if you've watched Juan Soto, this guy himself is going to turn the tide for the Yankees. I've never seen a guy that's just like re-energize a team like this.
How about Volpe? How about Volpe getting almost 400?
Volpe exploding, like he's going to end up being leadoff before, probably the end of next month. I don't think how you can keep him away if he's going to get on base like that and put Glaber, in 5 or 6. It's out of control how good it is. And the thing that really gets me is like a guy like Oswaldo Cabrera is talking about how, Soto is now like changing the team because the Latin players, the Spanish players can go to him. Yeah. And it's like they feel more accepted just from him being there for a couple of like a month and a half, even just in spring training. And I watched the guy, his at bats, like who the heck would want to throw to him? Oh my God.
And by the way, Aaron Judge still hasn't even figured it out yet. Wait until he does. I mean, could you imagine when that guy figures out where his swing is and where his swing is lost? I mean, John Carlos Stanton smacking the ball. I think, what does he have? 9 RBIs already? Yeah, what's that, 11? I think he leads the league in RBIs. He's right there with it. I mean, and by the way, whatever I bet, I live up to my bets, John. So you figure out the bet. I'll live up to my bet. All right.
John, to answer your question, his last name is Fishman, so he's known as Fish.
So, if you can't remember the bet, then you lose. You lose.
John, we have no context of what the bet is. If you could find it.
I live up to my bets. I follow through with my bets. There's people that have lost their bets that won't pay up. I'm good with it. I don't care. At least I'm fair. And I don't need to hear Jeff open his big fat mouth. And whenever he opens his mouth, he should stick a friggin' steak in his mouth and shut the hell up. There's nothing that comes out of that guy's mouth that makes any sense. And I even care to even talk about. All right. He's a nobody. And honestly, I let him call the show. I give him a platform, and he still opens his big fat mouth. And then he says stupid things and then says stupid things on on this list of craziness over here on these comments, and then says the dumbest things and makes it okay. People drink and drive and kill people. It's all right. It's all right.
Perfect Dallas Cowboys 3rd round pick.
He should be a Dallas Cowboy fan.
No, you are the team is back.
Oh, I like that one. Oh, that's pretty good.
Jeff got onto this one. If you look close enough, you'll find Jeff.
I see him.
Now, what is the context of the betting, guys, though?
You didn't try to pay up. Jeff, you were never paying up. You were never paying up, Jeff. I just sit here and I let you because I didn't want to see it because I'm a real person. I'm a realist. You were never going to do it, Jeff. You were never going to do it. And you still wouldn't do it even if I told you to do it now. Oh, the bet's over. You were never doing it. And that's why I didn't even push the object. I, on the other hand, live up to everything. Dares, bets, everything. So kiss my ass, Jeff. At least I'm a realist and I'm a real man. You, on the other hand, are just another person that opens his fat effing mouth and tries to throw everybody under the bus.
Fish, on a side note, that graphic made me appreciate when you put the two guests next to each other, how similar the two
the beef doesn't bother me. I don't know why he says, where's the beef?
Austin Gayle and Shane Hallam have very similar looking beards. So, Fish, I'll give you the good end of the appreciated graphic on that. You weren't with us the last time Gayle was on years ago, and he actually had a mustache at that time, too.
All right, guys. Great show. I mean, we went over another half an hour, as we always do. But, yeah, thank you, Fish, for giving us all the great graphics that you do, being the executive producer, giving us the content. You're fantastic, as always. We'll have Scoops on tomorrow. Thank you, Speedy, as always, for getting us all the content together, as he always does. He's a great producer and a co-host for the show. Thank you to all the fans, except one that just pisses me off every single time he's on. I do give him a platform, and I don't hate Jeff. All right. I sometimes I wonder why I even acknowledge he exists, but I don't hate him as a person. I think that he tries to call me out on things that I say, and I've lived up to everything and every bet that I made. And then he brings up bets that I never made and makes it seem like I owe him money. I mean, I owe you nothing, Jeff. Nothing. Because if I owed you money, I'd pay up. You, on the other hand, wouldn't. So let's make it. Let's call a spade a spade. All right, you won't do it. So I don't care what anybody says. Everybody can stick up, fam. It doesn't mean anything to me. I just think it's a joke. That's just all I could say about that. And what is Matt saying over here? Great production on the show. Oh, thanks, Matt. I appreciate you, Matt. As always, Matt's fantastic. He used to work for WFAN. He's just a fantastic personality. I would love to get Matt involved with the show. So Matt, I'll shoot you a text. I'll shoot you a call, man. Thank you. All the compliments. But yeah, I sit here today and I wonder sometimes on some of the stupid crap that we've had on the show and the content. But thank you to all the fans that listen to us and tune on all the different platforms we're on. I do appreciate all of you guys for giving us the content and giving us the reason to do this every single week, giving us the reason to give you content. That would be the better answer to that. We will be back tomorrow at 7:00. Thank you to Sean Smith for joining us for 30 minutes
in 2 separate feeds, no less.
And you are the team, Sean. We miss you. You are the team.
He said he's all about team. It's all about teamwork. Sean's all about teamwork, ladies and gentlemen. So he said it about 10 times in less than a minute. So very interesting dude, as always. Could you imagine Sean and Jeff in the same room?
Oh, God. I don't know how that would go down. Well, they just won't be smoking, actually, mainly.
And by the way, I don't know what John's saying. Take this trash jersey off. I mean, John, what's trashy about the Knicks?
There you go, Fish.
And what's trashy about the Rangers? I don't know.
About to be President's Cup winning Rangers.
That's right.
Would have been closer if the Islanders.
John, you and Jeff and Snug should hang out with one another, drink a couple of beers, get drunk, and drown each other. That's where you guys should be. Anyways, thank you to all the fans. Thank you for all the platforms. Thank you for all the guys. Last week we had, what was it, about 8,000 downloads on all the platforms. Thank you to all the fans downloading our product. We really appreciate you guys, and keep doing that and keep giving us, all the time that you give us to deliver the content. So we'll be back tomorrow. And all I could say for that is I'm not going to say it. I'm going to be nice and kind tonight. Sorry, Jeff. Actually, I'm not sorry. Kiss my ass, Jeff. Good night.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.